The goatee laughed. Sure, we should agree just from what Mr. Mo said. This is not just a once-a-time auction. So if Mr. Mo has more pills, I think there's no problem with collaboration. If you need pills, I can provide it all. Mo was impatient. If they kept talking, the auction would be over. Great, it's wonderful talking with Mr. Mo, I agree. After the auction, you can come check out all together. Then, we can discuss further collaboration. The goatee saw Mo's impatience and said immediately. Mo sneered, discuss my ass. After the auction, he would play missing immediately. He still had 100 million in the auction holder's hands. But he wouldn't be dumb enough to take that 100 million. If he got the blue-flowered blue-leafed grass, he would immediately escape. He could tell that this goatee wasn't a good person. 1.1 billion, the price had skyrocketed. Shi Wuxian suddenly said, calm down, everyone. Due to the owner of the pill's request, he wished to be in this auction himself. Now we will hand it over to the owner of the pill. The scene calmed down but was soon boisterous again. Although there had never been such a rule, no one wanted to offend the owner of the face-preserving pill. If he could take out 2 face-preserving pills, who knew if he could take out more? Plus, if they annoyed the owner, then the owner just wouldn't sell it to them. Then what can they do? Although Mo really wanted the blue-flowered blue-leafed grass, he didn't dare to be too confident. He wore black clothes and pants, covering himself tightly, and even wore shades. He was afraid people would recognize him. If they did, he would be a goner. Now, the last face-preserving pill will be sold by me. The current price is 1.1 billion. Is there any higher price? Although Mo changed his voice, some people immediately realized something. The black-clothed woman in room 32 immediately frowned and said to herself, this guy is so similar to that who? But how can that be? If she took off her mask, Mo would immediately recognize her to be Jing Shi. I bid 1.3 billion. As soon as this voice sounded, Mo was excited. He was waiting for this man to bid. Since he bid, Mo didn't wait for other bids and said, if it's Mr. Xia, I have a suggestion. If Mr. Xia can take out your blue carrot, this face-preserving pill is yours. The reason I came to do the auction myself is because I'm interested in your blue carrot, Mr. Xia. Mo told the truth because even if he didn't, other people would know, so he might as well say it. But as soon as he said this, the scene erupted. This was because Mo ended people's hopes of buying the face-preserving pill. However, Mo wasn't worried at all and immediately said, everyone please calm down. If anyone makes a hustle, our sect will blacklist you. Never to be allowed to buy more face-preserving pills and other pills. What, there's more? Someone asked immediately. Of course, our sect is a large set. Since we had pushed out 2, there would definitely be more. These 2 are just a test for the market. Mo blatantly lied. No one knew if the face-preserving pill could grant eternal youth, but it was sure able to make someone prettier. Just due to this, it was worth that much. When's the next time? People could wait and asked. Mo slowly said, when our next batch comes out, we will send out invitations to the world asking everyone to gather again. The Xia family man was a bit hesitant. If there wasn't the next batch, perhaps he would agree. However, if this face-preserving pill was mass-produced, then this trade would be not worth for him. Due to Mo's words, the auction place calmed down again. No one wanted to offend a big sect who could produce the face-preserving pill. If they really pissed Mo off, then they would be blacklisted. Plus, they had more than just one type of pill. After a while, the Xia old man said, a trade is possible, but I need 2 flowers on the blue carrot. If that's not possible, then I would have to reject. The scene rumbled again. The most valuable part of the carrot was the 3 flowers. This guy took 2, then it wouldn't even worth that much. However, Mo had a fit of excitement. To him, the flower was not bad. But in his hands, he could make it grow 3 more flowers. Even if he couldn't, the root and leaves were good ingredients too. That's fine. Mo suppressed his excitement and agreed. The crowd was shocked, but Mo quickly exchanged items with the Xia man and retreated. Mr. Mo, please sit for a while. After I finish dealing with the other customers, we can discuss our collaboration. The goatee was more and more polite to Yemo, but the glare in his eyes couldn't escape Yemo's spirit sense. This guy was interested in his recipe. It seemed that he didn't just want a collaboration, but instead wanted to devour him whole. As expected, under adequate interest, anyone could be betrayed. However, he was confident that he had never taken off his mask in front of the goatee, so it would be hard for the goatee to recognize him. Seeing Yemo nod, the goatee walked out and Yemo stuffed the blue-flowered blue-leafed grass in his ring. Then he followed with an invisibility technique. The goatee walked out, closed the door, and locked it from the outside. Then he made a gesture to the two guards. It was obvious that he wanted to lock Yemo in. When Yemo walked out of the auction site, many people left continuously. He knew that as soon as he appeared, at least two people would follow him. One was the lone wolf, and another was that Zhang Zhihui. Yemo took off the black clothes and continued to walk out of the Shi Shuang temple door while invisible. Amongst so many masters, he didn't dare to use qi, but he could still power walk. What Yemo felt surprised was that after he left, he didn't find Lone Wolf and Zhang Zhihu to stop him. In fact, he didn't see these two guys at all. However, he didn't care. He walked a bit and started to hide. He would wait for all these people to leave before leaving, because his invisibility technique couldn't last for too long. If he was seen on the road, he would be dead. And, facing so many masters and top Earth level masters, he wasn't sure if his invisibility could trick these people. Master! When Zissou walked out with her master, the shock was still on her face. She was flabbergasted by the face-preserving pill Yemo took out. It was quite hard for their semi-hidden sect to come to this auction. But Yemo could do something so astonishing, and she dared to find retribution on him. The nun beside Zissou said, "We'll talk when we get back." Before Zissou could reply, a woman in black veil stopped them. "Two friends, please." Zissou shook, but the pretty nun saluted a nod and calmly said, "Dao friend, please." The black woman laughed and said, "I want to ask you guys about someone. It's that young man with the black veil. You guys probably know him." Zissou's face went pale. She couldn't understand how this woman knew they knew Yemo. The gorgeous nun's face was also pale. She didn't want to mess with Yemo, but someone came to ask who Yemo was. The first moment Zissou said she had an impression of this person. She knew this person was quite possibly Yemo, who killed Chen Longtu by himself. She didn't even want to mess with such a person. "It seems you know, then please tell me," the black-clothed woman slowly said, but casually raised her leg and kicked a huge boulder beside her to pieces. The gorgeous nun's face grew worse. With such an ability, this woman was at least Earth level. She was only black level tertiary stage, so she could be easily killed by this black-clothed woman. "I heard this little girl say in Shi Shuang Temple she knows who that person is. I don't believe I heard wrong." The black-clothed woman's voice grew cold. At this moment, the gorgeous nun calmed herself down, looked at Zissou and sighed. "I can tell Qianbei, but this is only our guess. If we tell Qianbei, please have mercy on us." "Don't worry. Hurry up and say it." The black-clothed woman seemed to be impatient. "Zissou, tell her," the gorgeous nun helplessly said to her disciple. Zissou also knew she caused this trouble and said, "He's Yemo." "Yemo?" The woman obviously didn't know who Yemo was. Since she already said it, Zissou had no more concerns and explained, "He's from the Yi family in Beijing. His father is Yi Wentian. He's Yi Beirong's grandson. He killed Chen Longtu." "Yi Wentian's son? How was a mere member of a big family this strong? Did he go into some hidden sect?" The black-clothed woman frowned. The way she looked at Zissou grew cold. The gorgeous nun quickly said, "No, Zissou suffered in his hand. I investigated Yemo. He isn't Yi Wentian's real son. He was picked up by Yi Wentian near Luohong Temple 22 years ago." The black-clothed woman dazed for a moment and started to laugh at the sky. "Ha ha ha ha, 22 years ago, another child was found at Luohong Temple. The heavens are helping me. Shijie. Shijie. I didn't expect both of your children to be found by me. Ha 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 ha. I was thinking where the other bastard child of yours went." "What's your name?" The black-clothed woman suddenly stopped laughing and looked at the nun and her disciple coldly. "Wanbei is Hui Yen. This is my disciple, Zhu Su. There was despair in the gorgeous nun's eyes. She knew this woman probably wouldn't let them go. A me tuofo. Suddenly, a deep and long chant sounded. The black-clothed woman's face changed. She sneered. Since the old monk came, I'll let you guys go this time. If someone else gets word of this, you guys won't need to exist. Then, the black-clothed woman turned and left. Seeing this, the nun bowed and thanked towards the direction the sound came from and then dragged her disciple away. Xishuang Temple. The room Emo just left now had 5 people inside. The goatee Shi Wushan, the woman Emo when he handed the items in for auction, a man about the same age as Shi Wushan, and a gray-clothed person sitting in the back whose age couldn't be discerned. Shi Xianxia, are we just going to let him go like that? Shi Wushan said to that man who was about his same age. The man smiled. Go? Where will he go? Although I don't know how he got out of the room, but he probably used something to trick the eye. Huang Wen hadn't cultivated ancient martial arts, so it's natural that he was tricked. However, he underestimates our space association too much if he thinks he can just leave like this. Goatee felt a little awkward. After all, Emo escaped and he didn't even know. He asked, Brother you mean? Shi Xianxia plainly said, Lone Wolf is waiting for him on the road at the cliff. We'll make a move after he's been taught a lesson. By then, he has to listen to us. The woman who hadn't talked frowned and said, Shi Xianxia, although your idea is good, this Moing had killed Zhang Chengza as well as the Gu brothers. He's not so simple. Shi Wushan continued, Lady Fong, don't worry. I've seen both of his fights. He's at most the peak of black level. Compared to Lone Wolf, who is earth level, he's far weaker. Shi Xianxia nodded. Shitty Wushan is right, he should be no match for Lone Wolf. Plus, even if he kills Lone Wolf, there's still a Zhang Zhihui. We just need to wait to be the good guys. No need to worry he won't subdue him himself. In that case, why don't we just capture him? This would save so much trouble. Lady Fong still felt it wasn't safe. Shi Xianxia shook his head. It's not that we don't want to do this, but it's because if we save his life, he would cherish our collaboration more. Plus, Wu Dao, that old monk, came. If we do things overboard, he would definitely intervene. A me tuofo. A Buddhist chant interrupted their discussion. Other than the person at the back, the rest of the 4 all stood up in surprise. An hour later, Emo estimated that everyone probably left and he also stood up. He wondered how the Xishuang Temple people would feel if he left without a trace. Emo walked onto the cliff path and didn't hide himself. With his current state, invisibility would be discerned by others if there was any chi released. However, when Emo just walked halfway, he stopped. His spirit sense had scanned Lone Wolf, who was not far. This guy was really persistent, waiting for him here. It was impossible for Emo to turn and leave. Xishuang Temple had much more sinister plans for him. You really know how to hide, but even so, don't think you can hide from me. Hand me everything you have and sever one arm yourself. I'll let you live today. Lone Wolf was very arrogant. Emo sneered. He knew that a lot of people knew Lone Wolf would be blocking here, but Emo was sure no one was peering on. It was hard since the road was built into the cliff face, and outside was a bottomless ravine. In that case, Emo had no concerns. This Lone Wolf was at most the same with Bien Pe, perhaps a little stronger. But he was much stronger than before. Although he knew there was a fundamental difference between black level and earth level, he wasn't afraid of this Lone Wolf. You really want it? Emo walked forward a few steps, not showing even a trace of emotion on his face. Lone Wolf stared closely at Emo. Emo was still 3 or 4 meters from here. If Emo dared to take another step, he would attack immediately. He only had to make sure that the body didn't fall off the cliff. He observed that there was no weapon in this young man's hands, and he didn't seem that strong. Stop wasting time. If you don't hand it over, I will attack. Lone Wolf sneered and then raised his fist slowly. He didn't need to use a sword against someone like Emo. Then go die. Emo suddenly had a long sword in his hands and hacked towards Lone Wolf's head. The frosty wind aroused by the sword seemed to materialize. As soon as Emo hacked, the wind had crossed a few meters and came above Lone Wolf's head. Lone Wolf was shocked. He didn't have time to think where Yimo's sword came from. He jumped off the road and attacked with his fist at the same time. Lone Wolf's eyes were rather good. Thud. The back of Yimo's sword clashed with Lone Wolf's fist. Yimo took a few steps back as the blood in his heart ruptured. He complimented Lone Wolf's reaction and eyes. Even when his fist was rushed, Yimo still took some damage from it. If they were fighting on flat surface, he would have no advantage at all. However, this sudden sword attack still made a large wound on Lone Wolf's chest. However, it wasn't any real injury to Lone Wolf. The only advantage Yimo created was forcing Lone Wolf off the cliff road. At this moment, Lone Wolf flipped in the air and wanted to come back onto the road. Yimo's main purpose was to force Lone Wolf off the road. If Lone Wolf came back, he would lose all the advantage he had. Perhaps he would really have to jump off to escape. Since he achieved his goal, he wasn't going to let Lone Wolf come back. At this moment, Yimo knew his difference with the Earth level was really huge. Before reaching stage 4, he wouldn't be able to fight them properly at all. Bastard, you want to die. Lone Wolf was inexplicably angry. He was ambushed by an insect he could kill at any time. He flipped in the air and was about to land back on the road. However, Yimo didn't hold back at all. He sliced multiple wind blades at Lone Wolf. It was as though Lone Wolf was coming back for him to kill. Yimo used this move against Bienpe and felt it was quite handy against martial art cultivators stronger than him. Just when Lone Wolf was about to land, he felt a frosty wind come at his face. He took quite a fright from Yimo, suddenly brought out a sword from nowhere and immediately knew this frosty wind wasn't that simple. He didn't dare to block and quickly flipped to avoid it. He did 2 flips in the air, causing all the chi in his lung to be used up. Even he would die for sure if he fell off such a high cliff. He really didn't expect his small negligence would result in him being forced to this state by an insect. If it was on flat ground, no way would he be afraid of a mere 20-years-old ant. Yimo's plan succeeded. He didn't even think and rushed up attacking again with the sword. At this moment, Lone Wolf also pulled out a short leaf-like sword, clashing with Yimo's sword. Clank, under the fire sparks, Lone Wolf was smashed down a few more meters, sticking closely to the surface of the steep cliff wall. He didn't dare to move anymore. Yimo gasped at the chi reserve of Earth level. This guy still didn't fall off the cliff. At this moment, Lone Wolf also regretted. He was at a complete disadvantage. He didn't expect this young guy to be so hard to deal with. What was that invisible projectile? And how did his sword suddenly appear? And this long sword seemed like the one Bienpe used. Did he kill Bienpe? Thinking about this, Lone Wolf couldn't calm down anymore. This guy could even kill Bienpe. If that was true, then he could kill him. But would he even let him go after knowing he killed Bienpe? For the first time, Lone Wolf sweated in front of someone whom he thought was an ant. Seeing Lone Wolf stick to the cliff wall 7 meters below like a bat, Yimo sneered and took back the sword. Although it was a casual movement to Yimo, Lone Wolf's eyes was full of terror. He could think of it as Yimo was good at hiding weapons before, but now, he clearly saw with his own eyes that Yimo put the sword away into thin air. Lone Wolf had experienced countless life and death situations. Although he underestimated Yimo at the start and chose the wrong ambush point, he had woken up to the situation he was in now. Friend, it's my fault. I'm willing to give everything I have and swear not to disclose what happened today nor trouble you. Lone Wolf quickly begged for mercy. Yimo sneered. You're too naive. Since I attacked, I don't have the habit of showing mercy. Lone Wolf suddenly sneered. So what can you do to me now? Lone Wolf wished that Yimo would go find something to throw at him. As soon as Yimo left, he could come back immediately. But then, he felt things wouldn't be so simple. Yimo laughed. I have 100 ways to kill you. I can dig a stone and kill you now, but I won't do that. Hearing Yimo was going to dig stones, Lone Wolf's face changed. But he felt relieved when he heard Yimo say he wouldn't. His face kept changing as he thought what he was going to do. It's because I will kill you personally. Then Yimo actually jumped off the cliff. Lone Wolf was shocked but was immediately filled with joy. If Yimo also jumped off, then he wouldn't be afraid of him at all. Just when he was thinking about how to counterattack Emo, 3 frosty winds shot at him. He couldn't dodge them at all. If it was on flat ground, he could still dodge, but on this slippery cliff face, he could only dodge the 2 aimed towards his head. He couldn't dodge the one at his chest, however. He thought that, even if he took this blow, he would still drag Emo down. But Lone Wolf immediately felt this coldness from his back. He subconsciously looked, but his will was starting to get fuzzy. How is this possible? As soon as this thought dissipated, the lower half of his body fell into the cliff. At this moment, Emo grabbed onto Lone Wolf's sword and used wind-controlling technique to come back to the road. Lone Wolf was nowhere to be seen anymore. He played with the sword and felt it wasn't bad. If he couldn't make a better one, perhaps it was good to give Su Ping this one. He got this one from Lone Wolf and didn't need to hide it. After all, a lot of people knew Lone Wolf was waiting for him here. If Lone Wolf died, everyone would know it was him. Plus, Emo also heard that this Lone Wolf was a solitary person. He had no sect, so Emo didn't need to worry. He put the sword on his back and then continued walking along the path. His was very careful and kept his spirit sense on high alert. He killed Lone Wolf, but if he was right, that Zhang Zhihui probably wouldn't let him go. After all, too many people knew the Lu Blue Carrot was in his hands. Emo thought right. As soon as he walked out of this cliff path to the metal chain bridge, he saw Zhang Zhihui. And he wasn't by himself, there were people everywhere. It seemed these people weren't just here for the show but wanted to get something amidst the chaos. Zhang Zhihui carried an ancient-looking double-edged sword on his back. His hair was white, but Emo knew he was much stronger than Lone Wolf. Zhang Zhihui saw Emo and was dazed, but he saw the sword on Yemo's back and quickly reacted, saying, "I would have thought it would be Lone Wolf, but you actually killed him. Since you can kill Lone Wolf, I won't be harsh on you. Hand the Lu Blue Carrot and leave." Where did you put it? Zhang Zhihui suddenly realized that other than a sword, there didn't seem to be anything else on Emo. Emo scanned around and then looked coldly at Zhang Zhihui before plainly saying, "You are Zhang Zhihui?" Zhang Zhihui's face sunk. "How dare you, young brat? Zhang Zhihui is not something you can call." From his perspective, he was far stronger than Emo and generations was highly regarded in the hidden sections. A younger generation had to refer to him as Qianbei. "You old bastard, you're really shameless, aren't you? You want to rob me. So what kind of higher generation bullshit are you acting up to?" Emo was furious. This old thing was quite old and wanted to rob him but expected him to be polite to him. Disgusting. Zhang Zhihui's face went black. He was already at the peak of Earth-level middle stage, and he could enter tertiary stage at any time. Even the old man from Xia family dared to suppress him with money but not really start feud with him. This youth ate the balls of a tiger and dared to curse him like this. After all, although he didn't come out often, when he did, who dared not to call him Qianbei Zhang? If he wasn't about to break through middle stage, he really wouldn't be bothered to fight a Xiaobei for a Lu Blue Carrot. Zhang Zhihui, whose face was extremely angry, pulled out his long double-edged sword. He didn't even need to shake the double-edged sword, but it spun, forming a double-edged sword flower. The double-edged sword covered Emo with a raging intent to kill. Emo's heart sunk. If it was on the flat surface, he could even fight with Lone Wolf a little while, but faced against this old man, he had no chance. This old man was so much stronger than Lone Wolf, sealing his path of retreat shut as soon as he attacked. Emo had nowhere to hide and was able to barely defend the double-edged sword with his sword. Emo thought of countless ways, but only one could defeat the old man. If he bombarded the old man with all of his fireball charms while using the wind blade, perhaps he could heavily injure him or even kill him. However, he didn't want to do that. If he did, then so many people would see his trump card. Most importantly, even if he killed Zhang Zhihui like that, he would be heavily injured too by Zhang Zhihui's last attack. With so many people watching, he wouldn't be able to escape at all. Clank! 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 After a fit of clashes, Emo took many steps back. His sword was full of creases, and his clothes was shredded. There were 2 long gashes on his chest. "Insolent Xiaobei, you dare to be so arrogant with a mere black-level power." Zhang Zhihui had always cared about his image. He originally just wanted to dispel Emo's cultivation, But now, he had to kill Yemo. Yemo just took one move from Zhang Zhihui and knew he had to run. It was impracticable to run back because he scanned two more people from the cliff road. These two came from the auction holder. They came looking for his trouble for sure. He looked Zhang Zhihui's cold and contemptuous eyes and knew he had to jump off the cliff. But even so, he had to have a place to land. If he fell off such a slippery cliff face like Lone Wolf, he might fall to his death even if he had wind-controlling technique. The two people were getting closer and closer. Yemo didn't know if Zhang Zhihui intentionally forced him back so the two people from behind could corner him. But he had listed this Zhang Zhihui in his must-kill list. This old thing, when his power increased, the first thing he would do was to kill him. Yemo really wanted to ask which sect this old thing came from. But he didn't dare to ask because if he did, perhaps they would know he could escape. He had to make his next step perfect because he scanned a spot where there was a protrusion from the cliff face 100 meters below. He must tap there after jumping off before continuing the fall. Old fart. Take another one of my swords. Yemo jumped up and charged towards Zhang Zhihui while raising his sword and hacking towards Zhang Zhihui's head. You're asking to die. Zhang Zhihui saw Yemo's vitals were wide open and sneered. This guy wanted to die so much that he dared to use such a move against him. Zhang Zhihui's double-edged sword smacked Yemo's sword flying and then turned around immediately. He was very angry at Yemo and wanted to kill him immediately. Everyone seemed to know what would happen to Yemo next and didn't want to look. Yemo would land after his attack was blocked by Zhang Zhihui. As soon as he landed, he would be cut in half by Zhang Zhihui's following attack. It was as though he gave himself to be killed by Zhang Zhihui. It was impossible even if he wanted to jump off the cliff. No one could avoid Zhang Zhihui's sword at that point. This guy is so pitiful, he's going to be cut in half from the waist. The nun called Xiaoyu from the Lianhangjing Mosque didn't dare to look and turned around. The older nun held the younger nun and said, Master said, when we go out we mustn't underestimate others just because we're from the hidden sects. The reason that young man is at where he is now is because he was too arrogant. You really got away easy. Even I didn't recognize who was you? A black-clothed woman looked at Emo and coldly said, Qianbei Zhang, don't kill him. The two people from behind rushed up and saw the scene where Emo was about to be cut from the waist. But Zhang Zhihui's sword already sliced out. These two people called out a little too late. However, Emo defied everyone's expectations and didn't land underneath Zhang Zhihui's sword. Instead, he seemed to be pushed off the cliff by Zhang Zhihui's sword. How is this possible? Zhang Zhihui dazed. There was no way Emo could fall off the cliff in that situation. Did his inner chi blast Emo away? This was impossible. How is this possible? All the onlookers were confused. They didn't think Emo could fall off the cliff. It was impossible to change direction in air without applying force. Even an Earth-level tertiary stage master couldn't do it. Did they see wrong? Zhang Zhihui put away his sword and looked at the deep bottomless cliff. Emo fell down like a meteor, and there was no way he could live. Brother Zhang, what was that? Even Shi Wushan was confused. Zhang Zhihui nodded and said, Perhaps I used too much force on that sword, and I didn't expect this punk to be so weak that he got blasted away by my sword. Although people were still confused, this explanation could barely work. Sigh, that's a pity. In that case, friends, goodbye. We will be packing away the metal chain bridge. Shi Wushan's eyes was gleaming with light as he spoke to the crowd. Zhang Zhihui's face was bleak. Although he really didn't want to go like this, the auction holder had already made the announcement. This was someone else's land, so he had no excuse to stay. He knew that as soon as he left, they would go down the cliff and find that young man. That meant that he did all the hard work and couldn't get anything. Although he was depressed, he had no choice. Everyone seemed to know what the auction holders were thinking and all left. Since that guy was wanted by the auction holder, there was no point in staying here. The black-clothed woman looked at where Emo fell and frowned. She seemed to have thought of something and had a cold smile on her face before turning to leave with everyone. Of course, Emo knew it was risky using wind-controlling technique like that. Some people might even realize it, but he had to do it. First, if he didn't do that, Zhang Zhihui would kill him as soon as he landed. That wasn't even the main point. Although he was no match for the old man, it wouldn't be so easy to kill him. The main thing was Shi Wushan and the other person came. Shi Wushan and his men didn't just want his life. They wanted to suck him dry before killing him. It was because of that Emo still used the unbelievable wind controlling technique to fall off the cliff despite having the risk of being caught out. Emo fell down the cliff and landed on the spot where he wanted. Then he kept falling and soon he fell another 100 meters. After falling a few times rapidly, even he couldn't handle it, but luckily, he finally fell to the bottom after 1,000 meters or so. The bottom of this cliff was completely different to the bottom of the cliff at Xianxia. There was mist everywhere, but it didn't disperse. It stuck to the bottom of the cliff. Emo could see animal bones scattered everywhere. There were even some human skulls. Emo didn't want to stay for a moment longer at the bottom of such a cliff. Emo came to the other side quickly, but he didn't go up. If he went up now, perhaps he would be caught by the old guy Zhang Zhihui just in time. He had to go immediately. He looked at the sword and had an idea. He casually dumped it nearby. Then, Emo resisted the disgust and kept jumping ahead at the bottom of the cliff. He knew that those old men would come here soon as well. These people thought he was a treasure cove, so he didn't dare to stay for a moment. Although his power wasn't as strong as Zhang Zhihui, his escaping means made him not fear even the top masters here. He had wind-controlling technique and cloud shadow step. This place was crooked and uneven, but it was the same as any highway or road to Emo. 2 hours later, Emo found that there was no way forward. There was another cliff wall in front of him. If he had to go forward, he would have to turn, but he didn't want to. Who knew where he would turn to? Perhaps he would go back to the Xishuang temple. He had to go up from here. Emo didn't hesitate and started to jump up from the cliff face. Although it was a few 100 meters tall, it was no challenge for Emo. With the help of wind-controlling technique, he got back to the top very quickly. As soon as Emo landed on the top, a figure flew by and landed not far in front of him. "You're very fast. I didn't think you would be here as soon as I arrived." It was a woman covered completely in black. Emo heard the voice and knew who she was. It was Jingxi. "It's you." Emo's heart sunk. How did Jingxi know he was going to appear here? Jingxi sneered. "If you don't want to be surrounded here, then follow me." Then, she turned as though she knew Emo would follow. Emo had no choice indeed. He knew that if he stayed here, he would be in danger. Since Jingxi knew he would come up from here, perhaps other people would know too. Jingxi's speed was very fast. She didn't seem to worry Emo wouldn't be able to keep up. 2 hours later, it was near noon. Jingxi brought Emo left and right until they arrived at the stadium where Emo followed her before. Emo knew that it was a metal chain going down from here, and past that would be the Serenity Gate. He didn't know why Jingxi brought him here. No matter what, Emo wasn't scared. He was now facing Jingxi by himself, but he still had so many means that he hadn't used. He believed Jing 11 couldn't play any tricks in front of him. Jingxi took off the black veil, showing her gorgeous face. She seemed to smile at Emo and said, "Brother De Hu, you really appear and disappear out of nowhere." Emo knew he was recognized and also pulled off his face cover as he blandly said, "I don't dare to be called brother. Don't make me regurgitate the food I ate yesterday." He didn't care at this moment anymore. "Are you very curious about how I found you?" Jingxi said, and didn't wait for Emo to reply before saying, "Not only me, but perhaps even that old guy Shi Wushan knows you're alive." Emo sneered. Shi Wushan was going to search the bottom for sure. It was no surprise he would know he was alive. However, this woman was scary. She actually knew where to wait for him. Jingxi's face went cold. "I thought you were dead before. You acted quite well, making me sad for a while. I didn't expect your Qinggong to be so strong. Even a top-level Qinggong master would be no match for you. You really give me surprises. It's the first time I've seen such a Qinggong master." After pausing for a moment, Jingxi continued, "Since you can be fine falling from Liangnong Cliff, then you wouldn't die from a fall at Xishuang Temple. You think only I recognized you when you turned in the air." Emo sneered and sat down. "If there's something you want to say, then be straightforward. I haven't eaten since last night. After you're done, I'm going to eat." He understood now how Xianxia knew he wouldn't die. Xianxia looked curiously at Emo. You're quite calm. Although your qigong is very strong, but you're still in Wuliang Mountain, and you have no way of getting out now. Do you think Space Association will give up searching for you? Stop dreaming. How about you do a deal with me? I won't let you lose out. It's my first time. I'll give it to you. Xianxia's eyes became watery as though returning to that Jing's Emo sighed. This woman really was astute. Although he admitted she was beautiful and was a nun who knew how to seduce men, he really had no interest in her. She was too psychopathic. Haha. Let's talk about having sex later. Tell me your conditions. Emo laughed. Jingxi's face seemed to have blushed. She didn't expect Emo to be so blatant. She cursed. Do you think it's so easy to get in bed with me? Keep dreaming, kid. However, she didn't say that and instead slowly spoke. Last time, you came up from Liangnong Cliff? Did you follow me to here? Then you saw me go into my sect. I believe it should be no problem for your qigong. Indeed, Emo didn't need to hide. She bit her teeth and sneered. As I thought, tell me why you want to go to Serenity? Don't tell me you went to find Susu. Emo smiled. Why can't I go find Susu? I went to find her. Am I not allowed to? You like Susu? She opened her eyes wide and stared at Emo as though shocked by this news. Can I not like Susu? Do I have to like you? Indeed, I do like Susu. Emo wasn't afraid of this old nun, so he didn't need to hide. She suddenly laughed. To who, if you like Susu, you need my help. Do you know I'm Susu's Shirshu? Without my help, you won't even be able to see her. How about it, are you gonna suck up to me? Plus, do you think you can find serenity just by going down those chains? Stop dreaming, my little brother. Emo didn't suspect that she was Luo Susu's Shirshu. However, he dropped his animosity. Since she was Susu's Shirshu, he shouldn't get on her bad side, although she's a bit psychopathic. Tell me, what do you want? Emo didn't have any good impression of this nun. But this was Susu's Shirshu and he couldn't offend her too much. She enticingly smiled. In fact, I quite like you too. Then, she looked at Emo and said, you have a lot of good things on you? Even a face-preserving pill? Are you going to give me one? Emo was unimpressed. He said, do you think it's sold on the streets? The person whom I saw carry a girl that day at Shinongjia's Chio Tua Peak was you, right? The person who picked the red leaf pumpkin fruit was also you, right? Xi's tone suddenly grew cold as she asked. Emo also coldly glanced at Xi. If you want to ask me about this, I'll tell you the truth, I don't know. If you want face-preserving pill, I don't have any now. These pills aren't mine. If you don't have any other questions, then I'm leaving. Xi giggled. I really can't do anything about you, little guy. Don't say so much if. Can you leave? Susu will be engaged with the Diansong sect next month. I hooked them up. Emo abruptly stood up. Take me to see Susu now, if she's willing herself. Then I have nothing to say. But if you forced her, then don't blame me. So much anger. So what if I don't bring you to see Susu? Do you think a mere black-level martial artists like you can face off Diansong? They can kill you with one finger. Jing 11 didn't care that Emo was mad at all. Emo stayed silent for a moment before saying, Lu Blue Carrot isn't on me now, but I can promise to give you that flower. As for the face-preserving pill, I can ask that Qianbei for you. I also want your Qing Gong, Shi plainly said. Emo coldly looked at Jing X. Even if I give it to you, you won't be able to learn it. Shi contemptuously said, that's my problem. I don't need you to worry. Just tell me if you agree. Okay. If you bring me to see Susu. Emo agreed to Shi's request without hesitation. To him, Cloud Shadow Step was nothing. He was a cultivator, he really didn't care much about a martial art. Jing 11 smiled. You're really obedient now. Come on with me. Seeing Shi not ask for anything, Emo phased. You're not worried I go back on my words? Shi laughed. That's only if you can. Do you think you can come out after I bring you in without me? I'm really starting to like you, you're so naive. Emo was disgusted. But he knew what Shi meant. It was due to Qi. But fortunately, She didn't know he had the key. It was because he had the key that he forgot that it was needed to go in and out. She brought Emo onto the metal chain, and at the end, she opened a small door on the side of the cliff with a card and brought Emo in through a small door. She saw Emo didn't seem to be surprised at all and curiously asked, "Why aren't you surprised at all? Can you find here without me?" Emo was thinking there was no way she would be so easy to talk to. He just didn't understand what she was going to do. Now that she asked, he thought of her contemptuously. "Without you leading the way, I'd go in faster. Emicham, I can't come here without you." Emo's tone was bland, making she feel as though she punched cotton. Little did she know Emo was saying the truth in another sense. Last time, he really wouldn't be able to come in here without following her here. But now, he could go in and out. She had no business about that. The metal chain bridge had been retrieved. But at this moment, Wuxian and Xianxia stood here with a very bad face. Had he been eaten by a huge snake? Lady Fang said on the side. Wuxian frowned. "It shouldn't be. I feel that Mo Ying's last attack is a bit strange, and the place he fell was also very strange. I suspect he fell off in purpose. If that's the case, then he wouldn't be eaten by a snake. Plus, there are no big snakes nearby. And we didn't find his sword either. The only thing is that no one would be able to survive if they fell off here, much less a mere black-level martial artist. We have found the sword, Elder Shi." At this moment, a man in his 30s came up the soft stairs. There was a crooked sword in his hands. That means he really might have been eaten by something? Wuxian looked at the sword and suspiciously inquired. Xianxia, who hadn't talked, bleakly said, "Regardless of whether he's alive or dead, we must find him. This person has such overwhelmingly powerful pills. Even the method of concocting them is worth a fortune. If we can get these, our space organization will be unrivaled." Sure Shu. When she brought Emo into the Door of Serenity, two small nuns guarding the entrance came up and greeted respectfully. The two nuns saw Emo behind Shi and were very surprised. An older-looking nun came here and also looked at Emo in shock before asking, "Shimi Shi, this is?" Shi bowed a little and said, "Shiji Xian. He's Moing. He came to look for Susu." Xian frowned. "Shimi Shi. Our sect has never let outsiders in, especially a male." Emo scanned his spirit sense over this patch of houses and didn't find Luo Susu. Hearing Xian's words, he walked and explained, "Qianbei, Luo Susu once saved Wanbei's life, so I came here to thank her. Please forgive me for my impoliteness." Xian shook her head. "Luo Ying has gone into solitary training, please go." Then, she turned and left. "What?" Emo was shocked as though he was struck by lightning and stood where he was. "Luo Ying," Xian just said. "Luo Ying? Qianbei, please hold up." After Xian walked very far, Emo reacted and chased up, stopping Xian. "What else is it?" Xian frowned and asked. She was more and more unhappy with Shi. She openly brought a man into Serenity. This was intolerable, but she also knew she didn't even care about her, the leader of the sect. "Qianbei, what was that about? You called her Luo Ying?" Emo shakily asked. He had been thinking day and night, but he didn't expect to hear the name Luo Ying here. Xian looked strangely at Emo before saying, "Luo Ying is Luo Susu. She has changed her name to Luo Ying." Emo shakily asked again, "Can Qianbei tell me why she changed her name?" "Because Susu said she always dreamed about herself being called Luo Ying, so she changed her name." Xian looked at Emo and sighed. She shook her head and turned to leave. Emo's head buzzed, however. He was dumbfounded. It was his master indeed. She transmigrated here just like him, but his master could only remember her name and forgot about everything else. "Master, I finally found you. Luo Ying, I finally found you." No wonder he felt a sense of familiarity from Luo Susu in the desert. She really was Luo Ying. But why did Susu come so much earlier than him? Or was it perhaps he came here as soon as he was born but only remembered the things after he was traumatized? Or was it due to time and space that he came 20 years later? In that instant, all thoughts of emotions came. Emo had a feeling as though his chest was being burnt fire. In the back mountain of serenity in a stone room, a white-clothed woman, as though the goddess of eternity, sat quietly on a round cushion. There was no movement. Her face was so pale that there was not a trace of blood on it. Even so, it still couldn't cover her world-stunning beauty. However, in front of the cushion, there was blood on the stone floor. It was easily discernible that it was her blood. She had stopped cultivating because she knew if she cultivated, she would spit blood. At this moment, she had an empty water bottle in her hands. Her eyes seemed cloudy. In her dreams and consciousness, there was always a figure hovering about. However, when she wanted to see clearly, that figure disappeared. Now that she couldn't cultivate, the figure in her head appeared more frequently. It was as though she had known that person a long time ago. Eventually, that hovering figure stopped, and she discovered it was Emo. After a long while, she breathed comfortably and felt the jade necklace on her chest. The jade was only the size of a pea. She knew that if it weren't for this jade, she would have been tortured to death by this frost room. However, what made her more confused was that she felt Emo's chi on this jade necklace. Was she thinking too much, or what? 3 years. She smiled bitterly. She couldn't even last 3 months. If this pea-sized jade disappeared, it would be the time she died. Even her master couldn't last 2 years. How could she last 3? Her mind flashed the moments when Emo was still with her. He pointed at the clear well in the desert and said, "Happy birthday! This is the gift the heavens told me to give you. Do you like it?" "I like it. I really like it. That's the best present I ever received." "Thank you, Emo." The white-clothed woman mumbled. There was some softness in her eyes. Since she was about to die, why bother forcing herself not to think about it? She felt the dried-up blood on the cushion. There was his blood there too. Suddenly, she had a strong desire to see Emo. She wanted to ask if Emo was that figure in her dreams. But she knew that even if she saw Emo, she couldn't ask such words, and Emo wouldn't know either. She longed for Emo to bring her to see that clear well again. Some people are just destined to be remembered forever. Even reincarnation wouldn't be able to wipe away that memory. Susu. The door to the stone room was opened and Xianxia walked in. Luoying slowly looked up, confused. Her food and water was sent here once a week, and the one to send it shouldn't be Xianxia herself. Why did she come today? Luoying knew Xianxia didn't like her. Seeing Luoying just look at her once and had no reaction, Xianxia smiled and said, "Do you know who came to see you today? He says he's called Emo and he says he likes you a lot." "But..." Luoying's eyes shook and suddenly stood up, but she wobbled before looking at Xianxia and shakily asked, "Him? How could he be here? What happened to him?" Xianxia's face suddenly went cold. "Didn't you say you're not lusting the mortal world? No wonder you kept rejecting when Diansong's Bian Chao came to propose. It's because you have a man, you're quite bold." Luoying wobbled, but she bit her lips and didn't say anything. She was only thinking about that figure. She thought she would forget about it after coming back. But she knew she was wrong. Not only was that figure becoming clearer and clearer, it even kept appearing in the depth of her dreams and memory. Xianxia only needed to look at Luoying's state to know Luoying had feelings for Emo. There was a fit of discomfort in her heart. Although she had no interest in Emo, she still felt very uncomfortable seeing the two like this. Xianxia stole her man and Emo didn't even look properly at her but publicly said he liked Luo Susu. If she liked Emo too, she wouldn't be able to win against Luo Susu. Both of this mother and daughter was bad. They both liked stealing men. Even though I don't like Emo, I will still make both of you receive the heaviest punishment. Thinking about this, there was a cold smile on Xianxia's lips. "Susu, don't worry. I will let you see your man later, but before that, don't be disappointed." Xianxia suddenly patted the stone wall tens of times. A window appeared on the stone wall, but it was very small. From this window, a practicing ground 100 meters away could be seen, and even the greeting hall and VIP rooms. Xianxia opened the window and left. Luoying dazedly looked at Xianxia's back before turning back to look through the window. Her heart was chaotic. She didn't know what would happen to Emo. If Jing Shi got angry, Emo wouldn't be able to leave for sure. Emo was shocked into a state of chaos by Luo Ying's news. When he woke up, he just saw a small fresh-looking nun standing in front of him. The nun saw that Emo woke up and quickly said, "Shi Xiong, the leader told me to send you away from Serenity." Before she finished, Emo immediately interrupted her. "Tell your leader, I will take Luo Ying away today. No one can stop me." At this moment, there was only Luo Ying in his heart. Even if he destroyed Serenity, he would still take away Luo Ying. No one can stop his determination. Bian Chao, a mere hidden sect person, dared to think about his master. He truly didn't want to live anymore. In the eyes of a Dao cultivator, no matter how strong Dian Song was, he wouldn't think much of it. Luo Ying, as long as he still had one breath left, no one can touch her. Shi Xiong. This pretty nun saw Emo was being unreasonable and called out again with difficulty. "Go back. Let me handle this." Jing Shi arrived in time. Her words made the small pretty nun feel relieved. She bowed and said, "Yes, Shi Shu." Emo looked coldly at Jing Shi. "Take me to see Luo Ying. I agree to all of your conditions." Jing Shi expressionlessly said, "Come with me first." Jing Shi brought Emo into the last room in the patch of houses and then closed the door. She sighed and turned around slowly while walking away. Emo saw Jing Shi close the door and noticed a burning incense in the room. The smell was a bit strange. He frowned and wanted to say something, but Jing Shi took off her outer layer of clothes, revealing her snow-white skin and underclothes. The red band around her stomach and chest was exceedingly vibrant. Jing Shi, after taking off part of her clothes, seemed sexier in the room with the aroma of the incense. Emo couldn't understand what this nun was trying to do, but as soon as he thought of the nun's intentions and words, he wasn't aroused the slightest bit. "You bad boy." Jing Shi actually went up and hugged Emo. Emo's head buzzed. The body of a voluptuous woman enveloped him. Not to mention this woman was a nun, a very pretty and holy-looking one at that. He clearly didn't have any feelings for this woman, but there was a desire rising from the bottom of his heart. Feeling Emo's change, Jing Shi stuck more closely to Emo. She originally just wanted to put up an act for Luo Ying to see, but the man she liked was just like that, unable to resist her temptations. She wanted to make Luo Ying disappointed, despaired, hurt, and then mock her in front of her. However, Jing Shi didn't really intend to let Emo cross the line. She had her ego, but when she hugged Emo, the manliness smell of Emo, as well as the aphrodisiac incense she lit, made her feel wet. She overestimated herself or underestimated that incense. She could no longer resist the lust she had hidden for 40 years. She really wanted now, very desperately. Jing 11 breathed heavily. Her eyes were cloudy, and she couldn't resist to stretch out her tongue to find Emo's lips. Her hands were reaching towards Emo's chest while murmuring, "Emo, hurry up and have me. I want." Emo, who was burnt by lust and even pulled down Jing Shi's bra, suddenly had a fright. This woman knew he was called Emo, meaning she knew who he was, but she pretended she didn't know. Then, he looked at that incense and immediately knew it was an aphrodisiac incense. What did this woman want to do? Emo calmed down. Thinking that was close, he almost fell for it. But he didn't know Jing Shi fell for it herself as well. When Luo Ying saw Emo through the window, she suddenly wanted to cry. She remembered last time in the desert when those bugs were about to engulf her. It was Emo who came and carried her away. Then, she remembered when Emo couldn't escape the bugs. He would rather throw away the life-saving bag than dump her. And before he was about to die, he even slit wrist and let her drink his blood. Did he come here today to bring her away? Did he bring her to see that clear well? However, the next scene made her feel like her heart was being sliced. She couldn't understand why she had such feeling. Emo never gave her any promise, nor did she to Emo. But when she saw Emo hug that woman, the way the two were acting, she couldn't prevent herself from crying. She felt her chest was shattered, and all her power was leaving her. She didn't want to look at him, but she couldn't stop herself. She remembered Jing Shi's parting words. "But before you see each other, don't be disappointed. Was she disappointed? Why did he come and find her but act like that with Jingxi Shu? Why? Luo Ying knew Jingxi intentionally seduced Emo, but Emo's reaction made her feel very bad. No matter how loose Jingxi was, she couldn't accept Emo being loose with Jingxi together. She felt like she remembered Emo from her past life. The image of Emo in her mind was from past life, so she couldn't accept seeing Emo and Jingxi like this. Her heart ached so much, but she couldn't control it. She slowly turned around and finally wasn't able to control it as more tears fell down, sliding past her lips, bringing the blood from her lips down onto the cold stone floor. Emo calmed down and casually grabbed Jingxi and dumped her on the bamboo mat on the side. Don't try this with me. Tell me where Susu is. I will give you what I need to pay you. I'm not interested in you. Emo's voice was cold. Jingxi's joy and excitement were suddenly sent to the abyss. Although her skin was still red and the innate desires were still in her heart, that step on her ego made her unable to control herself. Even though the incense affected her, Emo's unhesitant rejection and coarse actions made her unable to accept it. She almost spat out blood due to anger. Good, you're very good. Jingxi walked to the corner of the room and stood before the incense. Then, she turned and coldly looked at Emo as she said, You will regret it. You want to see Susu in your fucking dreams. Jingxi was about to go crazy. Although she didn't expect things to develop up to this point, she was no longer rejecting it since it had already unfolded. However, Emo dumped her like wild grass. If she could take that, she wouldn't be Jingxi. Emo couldn't even bother to look at this psychopath. He ran his spirit chi and removed all the effects of the incense. He pushed the door and went out. Even if Jingxi didn't tell him, he could still ask Jingxian. He felt that Jingxian was so much easier to talk to than Jingxi. Seeing Emo turn and leave, Jingxi was so furious she was shaking and her face was green. Her anger had completely suppressed her lust. She originally just wanted to push Emo away halfway, but it was now her turn to lose face. Other than her Jie stealing her man all those years ago, she had never been so furious. This family didn't have a single good thing. Revenge? I want revenge. Jingxian sat at one room and seemed to know Emo had come. She said to Emo at the door, Since you came, come in then. Emo pushed the door open and entered. He bowed to Jingxian and said, Jingxian Qianbei, I know you're the leader of Serenity, but I have to take away Susu today. No matter what I have to take her away, please allow me so. You really like her? Jingxian didn't look up but sighed and said. Emo very firmly said, Yes, I like her a lot. Please let me. I can bring out something Qianbei will be happy with. I'm not treating Susu as a thing, but it's just my gratitude for your sect bringing her up. Sigh. After a long silence, Jingxian sighed again and continued, Luoying, Susu this child. You were able to pull out from that situation. It could be seen you're no ordinary person. In that case, I will make the decision. Hold up. Suddenly, a voice broke Jingxian's words. Jingxi had dressed up now, and there were 3 middle-aged nuns behind her. Emo glanced at these few people. These 4 nuns were actually all Earth level. Other than Jingxian, Serenity had so much power. However, since Jingxian knew Jingxi was a bad egg and tried to seduce him, why didn't she do anything about it? Was she just a puppet leader? Jingxi sure may. What else do you want to say? Although Jingxian's tone was calm, Emo heard the shakiness in her tone. It was an anger that couldn't be let out. Jingxi calmly said, Leader Jie, this man is from the mortal world. If he comes and takes away a disciple of our sect, isn't that against the sect rules? If each person comes to take away a disciple of ours, then our sect would be long gone. Jingxi frowned and slowly said, Sure Mei, you're the one who brought him in, and you also said he wants to see Luoying. Why are you saying this now? Jingxi suddenly angrily said, It was only now that I knew he was a covetous bastard. He tried to harass me. I also saw he was so desperate to see Susu that I let him in to see her. But I didn't know he was like this. I've went against the sect rules. I'm willing to be punished. After Jingxi's words, The three nuns behind her started to look at Emo with disgusted looks. Obviously, they believed Xi's words. Emo sneered but didn't talk. He looked down on these nuns, thinking they were dumber than idiots. Xi's words were full of holes, but they still believed her. However, he knew that Xian probably knew he wasn't like that, so he didn't bother to explain. Then, what do you think we should do? Xian sighed. She knew Xi was bullshitting, but she had no way to help Emo sure Jia. I think we can let this person see Susu once and kick him away immediately, Xi unexpectedly said. Emo also dazed. He didn't expect Xi to let him see Luoying. As long as he saw Luoying, he would take her away for sure. Did she remember his deal with her? Xian was also surprised. She was prepared to persuade Emo to leave, but she didn't expect Xi to agree. What was she thinking? Suddenly, Xian's face changed as though knowing what Xi wanted to do. As expected, Xi slowly said, "Of course, someone who isn't from the hidden sects won't be able to see our disciples so easily. According to the rules, he needs to go on the Blade Mountain and Sea of Fire." Xian immediately frowned. Before Emo could speak, she said, "Luoying is still in solitary training. I think you should leave first and come back after 2 years. 2 years? Emo dazed. She had a cold smile. Of course, if you don't want to see Luoying, please leave. She knew Emo wouldn't reject it. Emo looked coldly at Xi. Of course, he knew what this woman was thinking, so he said, "In that case, take me there. But I forgot to tell you, Xi, for a woman like you, even if you use aphrodisiacs, I wouldn't be interested in you. I wouldn't waste my virginity on you. Since he already offended her, he might as well do more. If this wasn't Serenity with numerous Earth-level masters surrounding him, he would have started a carnage already." Xi was a complete psychopath. Hearing this, Xi's face immediately became green. Luoying saw Emo and Xi and slowly turned around. She really didn't want to see Emo with another woman like that, especially if that woman was Xi. Her master died indirectly in her hands. However, Luoying still couldn't resist her urge to see Emo. Even though she turned around, she still couldn't resist her desperation and hope. She wanted to see if Emo was the same person in her dreams, and she also wanted to see if Emo would come to take her away. However, he had already done that. Would she let him take her away? She finally couldn't resist it and turned around again. The room was now empty, so where did Emo go? Luoying suddenly started to worry. She suddenly felt it was better for Emo to hug Jing. She then suddenly disappear in front of her eyes. She rushed to the window and looked around. There was no sign of Emo. She began to worry more and more. She knew Emo was quite strong, but perhaps Shi Shu only needed one hand to kill him. Did Emo reject Shi Shu, making her angry and to the point where she killed Emo? Luoying suddenly started to blame herself. She even hoped Emo didn't reject Shi and didn't make Shi angry. Emo must have been forced in that situation. How could he be a match for Shi? She really shouldn't have been sad for that. Since he came, he must have been here for her. If he didn't listen to Shi Shu, how was he going to find her? The more Luoying thought, the more she was worried. Sword Mountain. Luoying finally saw the 70-meter-tall Sword Mountain erected on the training ground. Her face immediately became bloodless. She knew about the sect rules. If the people from the mortal world could find the sect and have some affairs with a disciple, then that person must go up the Stone Mountain and down the Sea of Fire. When she saw the Sword Mountain, she had completely understood that it was prepared for Emo. Other than the Stone Mountain, there was a scarier Sea of Fire. "Don't!" Luoying screamed, but her voice screeched. It just echoed in the stone room. However, no matter how she yelled, her voice just echoed around. After being locked in the frost room for a few months, she found she had become very feeble. If Emo didn't do something for her before and made that jade necklace, perhaps she wouldn't even be able to scream. From the founding of the sect till now, this happened 3 times in total. However, none of the 3 survived. She also heard the last time was related to her master, but it involved her master's privacy, so she didn't dare to ask specifically. No matter what, she couldn't let Emo go there. She held to the rim of the window helplessly and remembered when she asked her master, "Master, what is the Sword Mountain and Sea of Fire?" That was the third year she came to Serenity and heard the conversation of her tutor Jie, and then she came to ask her master. Luo Ying remembered clearly that her master's eyes were red as she patted her head. Susu, that's the promise and persistence of a man. If one day a man is willing to go there for you, he's the person you're waiting for. Remember your master's words, you must not let that person really go there for you. If he really did it, he would only be able to do it once for you. There won't be anything after. You must stop him no matter what, remember this. You're still young, you don't understand now. She clearly remembered that her master started crying after that. I came late. I need to stop him, I must stop him. These words buzzed in Luo Ying's mind. She suddenly realized that she couldn't even scream anymore. She couldn't stop him, and she could only look at the tall Sword Mountain with despair. Although he didn't know what the Sword Mountain and Sea of Fire was, Emo wasn't afraid of it at all. He was a cultivator. If he was scared of merely that, then he might as well not cultivate. Emo followed Jingxi and company to the training grounds. He saw from afar those tall sword mountains. It was double-edged. Emo frowned. This height wasn't a challenge for him at all. He could stand at the top with wind control shoe. Suddenly, Emo stopped as he felt pain in his heart. He looked around and felt as though something he cared about was nearby. He subconsciously scanned out his spirit sense but didn't see anything. What? Are you afraid? If you're afraid, then leave. It wasn't Jingxi talking this time, but instead a nun beside her. Her face was very dark, and her looks very ugly too. Emo wondered if this woman was the ugliest one in the sect. He couldn't be bothered to pay attention to this woman. Since she was with Jingxi, it meant they were together. There were 30 or so nuns around the Sword Mountain. Probably all the nuns in Serenity came. Emo looked up at the Sword Mountain, which was like a huge tower with a triangular spear shape. There were very thin silvery white blades on the mountain. The blades faced up with 3 blades each row. There was a row every 30 centimeters. One could imagine that normal people wouldn't even be able to stand up there. Emo frowned. This stone mountain was very easy for him. He only needed to tap on one of the blades to reach the top, but for others it definitely wouldn't be so easy. But then he thought his way wasn't so easy either. Other than him, who could us wind control shoe to fly up nearly 100 meters? Jingxian frowned and said, "Sure may. Why is it so tall? Isn't it usually around 20 meters? Emo heard this and knew Jingxi the psychopath played tricks on him. Jingxi, however, slowly said, "Sure Jie. The height is set according to how talented our disciple is. Susu is the genius of our sect, so I used this one according to the rules." Then Jing 11 turned to Emo and said, "You can give up now, but if you don't, you must climb up to the top barefoot. Then climb down from the other side. There are 3 blades on each step, you must step on one of it at least. If you miss a step or a blade, then it doesn't count." Emo sneered. Even his face changed. With his wind control shoe he can go up step by step. Although it wasn't good for him, it was no big deal, however, he couldn't go too fast because if he did, Jingxi would definitely find another excuse. The main reason his face changed was for Jingxi to see. Although this didn't benefit him, it didn't threaten him. Jingxi saw Yemo's face change and sneered. "Since you came and insulted me, keep insulting me. Even if you want to go, I will still kill you." Jingxian also saw Yemo's face wasn't good, so she wanted to advise him. However, Yemo came over and said, "Jingxian Qianbei, please help me record the entire process." Then he took out his phone and gave it to Jingxian. He was afraid Jingxi would do something. Although he wasn't afraid of the Sword Mountain, he was suppressing his anger. He still wasn't strong enough. If he was stage 4 or 5 now, he would just apprehend Jingxi and make her hand Luoing over. He wouldn't need to climb some bullshit Sword Mountain. Emo took off his shoes and stood on the first step without hesitation. Blood immediately started to trickle. A few less bold nuns immediately screamed and covered their eyes. Jingxi sneered and told a nun, "Bring Susu here." She had this satisfaction of revenge in her heart. She would let Susu see the person she loved in such a state. Emo also sneered. With his power, his foot wouldn't bleed on the first step. No matter how strong the blade was, it needed to be after at least tens of meters before that happened, or maybe even not. Although this was the first time for him, he could still handle it. The reason he made his foot bleed on the first step was because his spirit sense sensed there were more traps in the Sword Mountain. If he appeared unscathed, Xianxia would definitely activate something. This Xianxia knew his Qinggong was strong. Even if Xianxia tried playing tricks in the middle, he wouldn't be afraid. But he was afraid this woman would find some strange reason for him not to be able to see Luoying. While Luoying was lost and worried, someone actually opened the door and took her to the training grounds. She didn't even think and rushed out. When Luoying came to the scene, Emo was already more than 100 stairs up at around 40 meters. Emo inundated the bottom of his feet with qi. Although his wind control shoe was strong, it wasn't easy going up step by step slowly like this. After more than 10 meters, Emo found a way. Although it was tiring, but after he focused his qi at the bottom of his feet and paired it with wind control shoe, he had a way to finish this unscathed. It was because he knew there were more traps in here that he kept his spirit sense locked tightly on Xianxia. Every 10 meters, he would make himself bleed. When Xianxia saw the blood, she was ecstatic and sneered. She overestimated this punk. Bleeding on the first step, he wouldn't be able to last till the end, and this was just Sword Mountain. There was a scarier sea of fire. She didn't believe Emo would be able to finish. Xianxia, I finally got some revenge. Luoying came to the mountain with a pale face. She immediately saw the blood on the floor, causing her mind to turn blank. She wanted to scream, but she quickly held her mouth, afraid that she would affect Emo Susu. This friend is really good to you. He dares to walk the Sword Mountain for you. Although Shu is doing this for your well-being, but... Xianxia saw Susu come and said expressionlessly, Shu, please let Emo come down, I beg you. Before she finished, she was stunned as a large splash of blood fell down. Emo's spirit sense was on Xianxia and didn't expect Luoying to suddenly appear. Luoying was so weak and skinny. Even her face was bloodlessly pale. Under such pain and desperation, the qi under his foot dispersed, and the sharp blades immediately cut into his feet deeply. Emo immediately knew the situation wasn't good. He gathered his focus. He wanted to kill Xianxia now for torturing Luoying like this. However, he knew now wasn't the time to kill this old nun because she was stronger than him. Arg! Seeing so much blood splash, Luoying couldn't control her worry anymore. Tears covered her face as she kneeled down in front of Xianxia. Leader Sherbo, please let Emo go. I beg you. Susu is willing to walk it for him. Luoying's heart was burning with desperation. She knew it was hopeless to beg Xianxia, so she could only kneel in front of Xianxia to beg. Xianxia sighed. She wanted to pull Luoying up, but Luoying held Xianxia's leg tightly as she cried, Xianxia sure may. Xianxia just said 4 words when Xianxia said very politely, Sure Jia, if we break the rules of our sect, then how are we going to survive? And in the back mountain. After saying these 2 words, back mountain, Xianxia suddenly stopped and Xianxia's face changed drastically, but she didn't dare to say anything anymore. Emo's heart felt warm seeing Luoying kneel down to beg for him, but seeing Luoying so sad made him feel worse. The bottom of his feet was sliced deeper, but he soon calmed down. He gathered his qi at the bottom of his foot and walked even faster. Susu, stand up and wait for me. I will take you away. Emo's calm voice sounded by Luo Susu's ear. Luo Susu stood up in joy, her eyes filled with Emo. Emo really was here to take her away. Did he remember something in his dreams just like her? Why did he sound so natural and unquestionable when he said he was going to take her away? Seeing Luoying stand up and seeming to forget about her existence, Xianxia's eyes went cold. You filthy pair, I won't let you live well. Thinking about this, Xianxia got down from the other side. Everyone was shocked. They had never seen someone walk the Sword Mountain so easily. Even Xianxia was shocked. She never expected this young man to really walk the Sword Mountain step by step. Luoying's eyes were always on Emo. The closer she was to Emo, the more she felt Emo as the person of her dreams. At this moment, Emo came down and she immediately ran over hugging him. Other than tears, she didn't know what to say. If she was suspicious before, she wasn't suspicious at all after seeing that Emo was willing to walk the Sword Mountain for her. Sword Mountain, she suddenly remembered and squatted down quickly. Emo, your feet. Emo carried up Luo Ying and looked at her carefully. Sorry, master. I came late. Luo Ying's face blushed a little after being carried up by Emo. She quickly said, Put me down. They're all watching. Emo's heart was about to explode with joy seeing his master again. The recent discomfort had all dissipated. He even put aside his hatred for Jingxi. Although he was excited, he listened to Luo Ying and put her down. Luo Ying looked up and saw Emo just look at her. Her pale face grew more lively. Emo had already grabbed Luo Ying's wrist and passed Qi in to treat her. Humph. Being so intimate already. Luo Ying, a few months ago you were still arguing, what about now? Jingxi's cold voice sounded. Hearing this voice, the rudiness of Luo Ying's face disappeared. Emo turned around and coldly looked at Jingxi. Jing 11. Don't think I would let this go. What you did to Luo Ying, I will get back from you many times. How dare you be so arrogant in serenity? Who do you think are? You think you're so great for walking the Sword Mountain? If you dare to offend our serenity, we will make you remain here forever. The black-faced nun immediately yelled. Then she looked at Jingxi. If Jingxi gave the order, perhaps she would immediately go up and attack Emo. Luo Ying quickly covered Emo's face and bowed. Jingwen Shu. Emo just came here and don't know a lot of things. Please forgive him. The black-faced nun didn't even look at Luo Ying and just waited for Jingxi's order. Emo was alert. If Jingxi was going to attack him and Susu, he would immediately use tens of fireball charms and then take Susu to run. What everyone didn't expect was how Jingxi's face kept changing before eventually smiling and saying, Since Susu begged for forgiveness, I won't care about it this time. There's still the Sea of Fire. If you can pass that, you can even take Susu away, much less see her. But it's late today, Susu. Take Emo to rest. Continue tomorrow. Then, Jingxi turned and left. Not only was Emo stunned, but so was everyone else. This wasn't like Jingxi. How could she be so easy to talk to? After a while, Susu reacted and quickly said, Thank you, Jingxi Shu. Watching Jingxi walk away, Jingxian frowned and wanted to say something but eventually didn't. Soon, there was only Emo and Luo Ying at the big training ground. Emo was becoming more and more confused. This wasn't like Jingxi at all, but as long as Luo Ying was by his side, it was fine. Regardless of what tricks Jingxi tried to play, he wouldn't be afraid. Why did you come here? Didn't I tell you not to come? After everyone had left, Luo Ying then remembered why Emo was here and became worried. Emo smiled. Susu, I came to find you, but I feel there's something wrong with your Jingxi Shu. She has no reason to let us go. She said not to go the Sea of Flames today, I suspect. Oh, by the way, let me see your feet. Emo's words reminded her. Emo's feet was still hurt. She quickly bent over and looked at Emo's feet. Emo pulled Luo Ying up again. My feet are fine. Let's go to the place you live. Where were you before? How come I couldn't find you? Luo Ying pointed at a peak more than 100 meters away. I've been living in the frost room there. Jingxi Shu made me stay 3 years in there for punishment. Tell me why. 3 years in a frost room? Emo was immediately furious. Only a few months had passed, yet Luo Ying was tortured like this. If it was 3 years, that would surely take her life. Jingxi, you old nun. No wonder he wasn't able to find Susu. The place Luo Ying pointed at was just out of his spirit sense range. Feeling Emo's anger, Luo Ying quickly pulled Emo and said, Emo, I'm fine now. Let the past go. I'm very happy that you can come to see me. Susu, tell me, why is Jingxi targeting you? Emo was very unhappy. Although he was determined to take Luo Ying away, he couldn't stay calm about Jing 11 torturing Luo Ying like this. Luo Ying felt warm. This was the first time she felt such warmness after her master died. She looked up at Emo and said, Because my heart isn't calm and I can't cultivate, so. Your heart isn't calm and you can't cultivate? Emo repeated. Although he didn't know what it meant, he said, since you can't, then don't. I will give you the way to cultivate. It's much better than the garbage of serenity. The things my master taught me isn't garbage. I don't like you talking about my master like that. Then Luo Ying turned and left. Emo helplessly smiled. He knew his words were a bit over the top. So he chased and awkwardly said, okay, my bad. But I have a way for you to cultivate. Luo Ying didn't say anything and just walked into one room at the furthest. Emo awkwardly stood at the door, not knowing whether he should go in or not. What are you standing at the door for? Why aren't you coming in? Luo Ying's voice sounded. Emo rejoiced and quickly went in, closing the door on the way. The moment Emo closed the door, Luo Ying's body shook. Emo saw it and immediately remembered that she didn't seem to arrange a place for him to stay. But he didn't mind it. As long as he was with his master, it was fine. Luo Ying walked to the corner of the room and lit an incense. Emo looked and quickly said, Susu, you can't light that incense. Luo Ying looked strangely at Emo. This is serene incense. It can calm you down. We disciples of serenity would all use this incense to clear our mind. Why can't I light it? Emo awkwardly opened his mouth. He didn't expect the aphrodisiac incense to look the same as the serene incense. He couldn't help but look down on himself. How could Luo Ying be the same type of person as Jingxi? Because it was a bit awkward, he could only say, Master, your state is very bad. Let me treat you. Luo Ying looked at Emo in bewilderment. Why do you call me master? You called me that just then. Why did you say it again? Ha! Emo looked hesitantly at Luo Ying. He realized that Luo Ying didn't remember anything except for her name, or perhaps there was a hazy image of him in her brain. That's why she treated him differently. But how was he going to explain this to her? This explanation would be too bizarre. How about I treat you first, then I'll tell you later? Emo played it off. Luo Ying nodded, but for some reason, her face blushed a little. Emo looked at the incense. It smelt very similar to the aphrodisiac incense, but it didn't seem to be too similar. He was confused. Luo Ying sat on the mat and didn't say anything. She knew Emo's medical skills were great. That time, he had even saved her in the desert. Emo nodded and took out a face-preserving pill and passed it to Luo Ying. Eat this first, then I'll do acupuncture for you. Emo didn't doubt the face-preserving pill at all and ate it. Soon, she closed her eyes while waiting for Emo's acupuncture. Luo Ying was just a little weak, and the situation wasn't too serious. Emo helped her recover the meridians that was damaged by the frost chi soon, and then he used a few clear water shoe to clean away the impurities brought out by the face-preserving pill. In less than an hour, Luo Ying looked at her hands and skin. She couldn't even believe her change. Her skin was white on the surface but red underneath. Her whole body seemed lighter. This was like last time in the desert, but I seem to feel a lot lighter, Luo Ying casually said. Emo helped her cleanse her impurities in the desert, and this time with the help of the pill, it was more complete. Luo Ying's face suddenly became more red, making Emo's heart palpitate fast. A burning sensation rose from the bottom of his heart. He also felt something wasn't right and subconsciously looked at that incense. It was about to be burnt out. Obviously, it was different than the one Jingxi used, but it seemed a little similar. Emo felt his desires become stronger and stronger. Was it because he saw Luo Ying? He subconsciously looked at Luo Ying. Her snow-white neck seemed a little red. The faint, fresh aroma of a virgin emitting from her shirt made it difficult for him to breathe. His eyes moved to Luo Ying's face and found Luo Ying staring right at him. Her face was more vibrant than ever. There was a softness in her eyes that was about to melt him. But her out-of-this-world beauty made Emo have the thought of not daring to desecrate her. Susu. Emo called out with difficulty. He felt his throat was very dry. Seeing Emo like this, Luo Ying shyly smiled. This smile made all the flowers in the world lose their color and made the world brighten up. Luo Ying slowly moved closer and rested on his chest. That faint aroma made Emo unbearable to resist, and he subconsciously looked at Luo Ying and kissed her lips. Seeing Emo try to kiss her, Luo Ying's already shy face became even more vibrant. She wanted to move her head away, but there was a desire in her heart as she clumsily kissed Yemo's lips. When Emo felt that soft and wet sensation, his head buzzed and couldn't control himself anymore. He desperately demanded more while Luo Ying followed up clumsily. The curved moon rose up as a harmonious moonlight shone through the wooden window falling on Emo and Luo Ying. It made things extraordinarily calm and placid, as though depicting this love couldn't be stopped even by space and time. After a long while, Emo exhaled and parted with Luo Ying's lips. Luo Ying didn't dare to look at Emo, so she just buried her head in his chest as though those clumsy acts were irrelevant to her. However, her body was still warm and soft and her breathing became faster. Emo looked at the incense in the corner of the room that had ceased burning. At the same time, he used his qi to remove the effects of the incense in Luo Ying's body. Luo Ying's breathing calmed down, but she held Emo tighter. Emo moved her away from his own body too before he smiled, then said, "Susu, I feel the incense you lit up is problematic. It seems to be a type of aphrodisiac." Luo Ying looked up and smiled sweetly. I realized that after. The smell seemed different than the serene incense I used before. I don't know who changed it. She also realized that there was something wrong with the incense after she felt the sudden flare in her desires. Although she longed to see Emo, she wouldn't be like this as soon as they met. Emo felt dazed, but he soon struggled and said, "Well, luckily I smelled it before and knew how to remove it otherwise." Luo Ying lay in Yemo's arms. Her soft voice seemed to be coming from the heavens. "It should likely be Jing Shi who changed it. She wants to catch me for not obeying the rules of the sect and kick me out. But I've been wanting to go with you for a long time, so it doesn't matter if she kicks me out." But before Emo could speak, Luo Ying's pearly white hands touched his lips to stop him from talking. "Don't talk. I was willing. If I didn't want to, even this incense can't change my thinking. Susu, I will leave that for the night we marry." Emo had this excitement of being accepted and couldn't seem to be himself. "MHM." Luo Ying agreed softly, and after a while, she said, "Dummy, you always call me master and it's too late to change now. I always dream of you. It is as though I knew you from my last life. Are you always like this too?" Emo became dazed for a moment. He didn't expect Luo Ying to not only remember his name but also his figure. "Why aren't you talking?" Luo Ying's voice was like the soft clouds. "MHM, I also remembered you too. You were my master called Luo Ying. A long time ago I called you master and you called me Mo heir. Afterwards." Emo seemed to be lost in thought, and when he woke up, he found that Luo Ying was asleep. Emo caressed Luo Ying's hair and murmured, "Master, you've protected me for a lifetime. Now let me protect you in this life." Emo carefully took off the little bit of the remaining jade of her necklace and looked at it for a while. He didn't expect the magic artifact he made to be in Luo Ying's possession and was protecting her. He took it away and used that black jade from last time to make another necklace for her before carefully putting it on for her. Then, he embraced her and slowly fell asleep. The ray of dawn shone through the mist into the room. Luo Ying opened her eyes. She looked at Emo as she embraced him. Her heart was calm. If she couldn't cultivate, then let it be. "You're awake." Emo saw Luo Ying wake up. He thought he was dreaming. The Luo Ying he'd been thinking of for countless days and nights was finally in his arms. He really was afraid that this was a dream. However, the morning sunlight told him it wasn't. It was real. He had missed the opportunity once, and he wouldn't miss it the second time. "MHM, go out for a moment. I need to take a shower and change clothes." Luo Ying stood up. Emo was still stunned. Last night he didn't notice, but now he knew how stunningly beautiful Luo Ying was. Luo Ying looked at Emo's dumbfounded face and smiled. Just when she wanted to talk, Jing Shi's cold voice sounded at the door. "What? Did you not have enough sex last night?" "Emo, come out. I need to talk to Susu." Emo opened the door and looked coldly at Jing Shi. "Piss off. Susu doesn't like talking to you. You don't have the right." Jing Shi's face went green and glanced coldly at Emo. but she said to Luoying, "Susu, I need to talk to you." Luoying stood up calmly and walked beside Yemo saying, "Let her in and wait for me outside. Don't worry, I will listen to you. After today, I will go with you." However, Yemo didn't really trust Xianxia. But since Luoying said that, he could only let Xianxia come in while he stood outside the yard restlessly. He felt that Xianxia's purpose wasn't so simple, but he really couldn't understand what she wanted to say to Luoying. Xianxia closed the door and subconsciously looked at the incense cauldron. The incense was burnt. She had a smirk on her mouth. "He actually gave you a face-preserving pill?" Xianxia came in and immediately saw the difference on Luoying. The jealousy in her heart was raging like fire. Luoying subconsciously asked, "That was a face-preserving pill? Susu, last night must have been very good. You had a face-preserving pill and a man to accompany you. Of course, it would be much better than obeying the rules of the sect." Xianxia set aside her burning jealousy and tried her best to ridicule her. Susu smiled plainly. "Yes, Xianxia Shu. Although I don't know why you're targeting my master and me. I'm no longer the Susu before. You don't need to waste your time. I will leave with Yemo, so say what you want." Xianxia's eyes showed a ray of jealousy. "Didn't you see what Yemo was like to me yesterday? I trust him. If Shu is going to talk about this, there's no need for it. If you don't have anything else to say, I will go find Yemo." Luoying was calm like a windless lake. Xianxia felt very annoyed. She wanted to make Luoying and Yemo sad, but everything she did made her look like a clown. Luoying didn't seem to feel bad at all. "Did you know that Yemo is going down the sea of fire today? Do you think he can come out?" There was an increasing mockery in Xianxia's tone. She wanted to see Susu once again beg to her like yesterday to let Yemo go. Then she would humiliate her. However, Luoying still replied calmly, "I know. If he can't come out, I will go with him. Shu, if you don't have anything else to say, please leave." "You!" Xianxia was shaking in anger. She didn't expect Luoying to not be begging her. Although she still wouldn't let the two go even if Luoying begged her, she wanted to see Luoying's despair after her begging. Luoying looked calmly at Xianxia and didn't say anything. She knew the Shu was trying to mentally break her and make her feel bad. Then Xianxia would gain satisfaction. After talking with Yemo last night, she no longer wanted to stay here anymore. "But did you know that you and Yemo are siblings?" Xianxia's voice seemed to come from hell. It was eerily frightening. Luoying wobbled and her face immediately became pale. "What are you talking about?" Xianxia seemed very happy with Luoying's change of expression and laughed before saying coldly, "You must think that I'm tricking you. More than 20 years ago, your mother dumped you and your brother at Luohong Temple. Then you were chosen by Ning Zhongfei and Lan Yu, but Yemo was taken in by Yan Wentian and his wife. 5 years later, your mother tried to get you to come to Serenity. She thought I didn't know, but I saw everything in my eyes. It was because she stole my man that I hate her to the end of time. You are just like your mother, a filthy bitch. You won't even let your brother go. Ha 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 ha." Luoying immediately spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the mat shakily. Yemo heard Xianxia's hysterical laughter, so he charged in without thinking. Seeing Luoying's state, he was so scared his soul nearly left him. He quickly helped Luoying up. "Susu, what happened to you?" At the same time, he sent in his qi to calm Luoying's chaotic qi. "Xianxia, you bitch, what did you do to Susu?" Yemo couldn't care about anything else. He gathered all his qi and punched Xianxia. Xianxia didn't expect that Yemo would attack so suddenly. She hurried to defend, but this fist was fully powered with anger, and in such a hurry, Xianxia wasn't able to completely negate the force of the punch. Thud! Xianxia was smashed into the wall, causing her to cough out blood. She looked coldly at Yemo but actually didn't attack. She turned to leave. Yemo even wanted to chase up, but was pulled by Susu. "Don't chase her. You're no match for her right now. Remember, if one day you can beat her, help me kill her." Yemo stilled. Of course, he was going to kill Xianxia, but he had never heard Susu say she wanted to kill someone before. It could be seen how infuriated she was at Xianxia. "Mo, I'll still call you that. Although Luoying calmed down her chi with Yimo's treatment, her face was still pale. I want to ask you something. Is your father Yi Wentian? Luoying's eyes became hopeful. Yimo nodded and said, yeah, but I'm probably not from the Yi family. Although my surname is Yi, I'm not from the Yi family of Beijing. Yimo said this because his last name was Yi in his past life. Hearing Yimo's words, Luoying's face grew worse. She gasped, do you know where you came from? Yimo looked curiously at Luoying and shook his head. I don't know. I just know I was picked up from the streets. From where? Luoying looked worried. From Luo Hong Temple. I still have a sister. What's wrong, Susu? Before Yimo finished his words, Luoying spat out blood again. Yimo quickly fed her a lotus life pill while using his chi to calm her body down. Luoying calmed herself and gently patted Yimo's hair. I'm fine. It'll just be hard on you. You need to take care of yourself. Yimo couldn't understand Luoying's words and pushed her into his arms. Luoying's body froze but didn't push him away. After a long while, Longing pushed Yimo away and looked at him carefully until Yimo felt it was a little awkward. Then, she said, Mo, go out and wait for me. I want to clean myself. Okay. I'll be outside. Although Yimo didn't know what Xianxia said to Luoying, he wouldn't let Xianxia go no matter what. Even if he would starting feud with Serenity, he would finish this wretched nun. As soon as Yimo walked out of the door, he saw that dark-faced nun. She sneered at Yimo. Such a cocky Xiao Bei. You dare to be arrogant in Serenity. The nun pulled out her horsetail whisk and was about to attack. Her power wasn't even as strong as Lone Wolf. Yimo wouldn't be afraid of her, but before the two attacked, Jingxian walked over and said to that nun, Jingwen Shimei, I have a few words I want to say with Yi Shizhu. This black-faced nun didn't dare to disobey Jingxian and quickly said, yes, Leader Shizhu. Yimo had some good impression of Jingxian and also thanked her. Jingxian looked at Yimo and said, Yi Shizhu, come with me. Yimo saw Jingxian bring him to the room she brought him to yesterday and felt strange, thinking don't tell me this nun is going to do the same as well. What Yimo worried about didn't happen. Jingxian took out a bag and gave it to Yimo. This was left behind by Susu's master. When you take Susu away today, give this to her. Susu is a kind soul. You mustn't let her be mistreated. Before Shimei left, she left Susu under my care, but I let her be mistreated too much. After pausing for a moment, Jingxian continued, Yi Shizhu, don't go down the sea of fire today. No one can pass that. I will talk with Shimei. He took the bag and felt strange. Why didn't she give it to Luoying straight away? But still, he replied, thank you, Jingxian Qianbei. Qianbei, please rest assured. I won't let Susu be mistreated. Even if I suffer, I won't let her suffer. Humph. So bold statement. Jingxia appeared at the door again. Yimo got up abruptly. His eyes were extremely cold. If it wasn't due to Jingxian, he would use all his means to kill his disgusting nun. Jingxia also looked coldly at Yimo. You don't need to wait for Susu. She won't leave with you. She had left Serenity. You won't be able to find her forever. Ha 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 ha. Do you know, no matter how pretty she makes things sound, she is just lying to you. Ha ha. What? Yimo immediately charged out and went to Luoying's room with his fastest speed. The room was empty. Last night's bamboo mat was still there. On it was a letter and a small pouch. Yimo ripped open the litter. The content was very short. Mo, I'm going. Don't think about me. You need to stay safe. There's a strand of my hair in the pouch. Let it stay with you forever. Jingxia is a mad woman. Don't bother with her. I'll be happy as long as you're fine. Mo, I really don't want to go. I don't want to lose you. It's because I love you. I don't want you to be my brother. I can't accept this fact. I just want to love you. The remaining content was soaked wet by tears. Why? Luoying. Susu. Veins on Yimo's forehead popped as he roared. Susu, master. Don't leave. Yimo barged out of the room, his spirit sense searching everywhere. He went to the entrance with the stage and the metal chains, but he didn't see Susu. Emo went back to serenity but was stopped by the black-faced nun. Under intense range, Emo threw more than 10 fireballs and didn't even care about Jing Wen's horsetail whisk. While Jing Wen was surrounded by the fireballs, she punched Jing Wen more than 10 meters away. Jing Wen was paralyzed on the ground, spitting out blood. She didn't expect Emo to have such power. But Yemo's back was also bloodied by the horsetail whisk, but Emo didn't care at all. A few other nuns wanted to stop Emo but was stopped by Jingxian. Let him be, he's emotionally unstable now. Wait till he stabilizes. A few nuns stared in horror at the fireball charms Emo threw out. Even Jing, she didn't expect he had such a killing move. Emo charged into the frost room where Susu was kept. Other than the frigidness, there was nothing inside. Emo could no longer control the violence in his heart and smashed towards the wall, forgetting that his fist was dripping with blood. This room just drew the frost from underneath the ground. It wasn't very stable itself. Under Yemo's constant barrage, the stone wall finally started to crack. Rumble, Emo punched the wall again. This room that once imprisoned Luo Ying finally crumbled into rooms under Yemo's furious attacks. Emo saw this room crumble and gradually calmed down. Jing Shi, this old hag. Luo Ying left him because she listened to her words. Killing this nun wasn't enough to release his hatred. Plus Luo Ying also said she would kill this nun. No matter why, Emo had to kill this nun. Thinking about this, Emo charged back to the big yard with eyes red. He stared coldly at Jing Shi and said, "Old nun, what did you say to Luo Ying? Speak." Jing Shi shivered subconsciously. She was actually afraid of Emo subconsciously, but she soon calmed herself down and laughed. "What did I say? I just spoke the truth. You are Luo Ying, our siblings. You siblings did something interesting. Ha 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 ha." Everyone looked at Jing Shi. Her hair was covering her face and she seemed quite crazy. Unexpectedly, Emo still looked at her coldly without any emotions. "Are you dumb? Knowing that the person you love is your own sister?" Jing 11 was very unsatisfied with Yemo's reaction. Emo sneered. He had understood why Susu asked him those words. It seemed Susu was mistaken. He grabbed more than 10 fireball charms and said coldly, "Before you die, I will let you be an enlightened ghost. I was adopted by the Yi family at Luohong Temple indeed, and I also have a sister. We both have a bracelet to recognize each other. See, it's this one." Emo took out a bracelet and wobbled it in front of Jing 11. Then, he continued, "Oh, I forgot to tell you. My sister is younger than me. She was also adopted from the Luohong Temple, but Susu is 2 years older than me. She wasn't picked up by the Ning family from the Luohong Temple. Impossible. Susu was adopted from the Luohong Temple." Jing Shi's face became hideous. Emo sneered. Susu was picked up by Qingshua's mother outside the Luohong Temple. There was still some distance with the Luohong Temple. You probably didn't know that when Susu was adopted, she was already more than one. Impossible. This is impossible. Jing Shi was losing control. Her eyes became red as she pointed at Emo. "Jing Shi is you and Susu's mother? It's Jing Shi, that wretched bitch." "Enough." Jing Xian couldn't help and reproached. Jing Xian looked disgustedly at Jing Shi before saying slowly, "Jing Xian was a virgin even till the moment she died. How could she have children? Jing Shi, you're stepping over the line. Luckily Yi Shizhu isn't siblings with Susu. If they are, then your actions won't be allowed by the heavens." "What? Jing Xian is a virgin? Ahaha." Jing Shi seemed to have heard the funniest joke and laughed hysterically. At this moment, the black-faced nun and 2 other nuns closed their hands and said, "Jing Shi sure may. Jing Xian Shijie is right. Jing Xian sure may was indeed a virgin. Before she left, her virgin mark was still on her arm. We can testify to that." "She isn't." Jing Shi murmured. "All I've done was for nothing, no." Emo sneered and could no longer resist his killing intent for Jing Shi. He rushed up and raised his fist. Jing Shi, who was half crazy, was smashed away by Emo's fist, spitting blood in mid-air. Emo was about to follow up but was stopped by 2 nuns. Although these 2 nuns no longer wanted to kill Emo couldn't escape their barricade. Emo threw out more fireball charms under his rage and yelled, "Out of my way!" The two nuns knew how strong Emo's fireball charms were and didn't dare to block it. They quickly dodged. When they looked up, Emo had already charged past them. Emo came in front of Xianxia with his fastest speed and punched again. Xianxia had claimed down now. She flicked up her horsetail whisk at Emo. Emo wanted to smash Xianxia to pieces now. He didn't even bother with the whisk and still punched. "You're crazy." Xianxia saw Emo ignoring her whisk and yelled in shock. Although Emo wasn't crazy, his eyes were crazed with killing intent that anyone would shiver upon gaze. Slap! When Xianxia's whisk hit Emo's chest, Emo's fist also landed on Xianxia's stomach. Pumph! Xianxia felt into the deep abyss outside Serenity. At the same time, Emo retreated many meters and crashed into the wall. Many of his ribs were broken, and he also spat out a mouthful of blood. However, Emo took a Lotus Life pill as fast as he could. He slowly stood up and turned to look at Xianxia. He didn't say anything and just left this place that made him sad and disappointed. The reason he didn't talk to Xianxia was because he wasn't very happy with her either. It was obvious that Luo Ying was going to die after being sent into the Frost Room. Xianxia was the leader of the sect, but he did nothing about this. This made Emo lose his good impression of her, and while he killed Xianxia, he had a subtle feeling that he was being used. Although he knew that Xianxia might not have thought it that way, but he was still uncomfortable. Seeing Emo disappear from Serenity, Xianxia sighed and didn't go after Emo's responsibility. Instead, she turned and walked to the Frost Room that was shattered by Emo. Emo didn't go very far after leaving Serenity. He found a distant place to sit and recovered his injuries. Then, he left Serenity along the mountain path. He came to the platform and walked over the metal chain. However, he didn't go down the mountain. He dug a hole in the cliff face tens of meters below the metal chains. The stone cave had an area of about 3 to 4 meters. Emo had 2 reasons to stay here. First, he wanted to digest the essence chi stone, and second, it was to try his luck and see if Luo Ying would come back. The place he was at was just about 100 meters from the top. If someone passed here, he would be able to notice it. When everything was ready, Emo started cultivating. There was a little amount of spirit chi in the essence chi stone, and it was much harder to digest than spirit stone. Although he still had a lot of things to do, he still haven't gone to Fongnan even though he promised he would do so. As for that taekwondo thing, he already forgot it. He didn't even have time to go to the Song family, much less that North Sand. Without power, everything was unachievable. If he didn't have the resources, never mind, but he had an essence spirit stone. If he just left it in his ring and didn't use it, it would be a waste. Although he could still cultivate at other places, he still had a sliver of hope that Luo Ying would come back. After experiencing this series of events, he knew that he shouldn't be weak here. Luckily, he still had food in his ring, and it was fine even if he stayed here for a few months. Time flies as one cultivates. A week later, when Emo's essence chi stone had become dust, his power was at the peak of stage 3. If he still had another one or a little bit of fortune, he could reach stage 4. Emo sighed, he had to stop. Without resources, he wouldn't be able to progress no matter how much time he used. However, he was very satisfied with his progress in a week. He had only been here in this world for less than a year, and this place was seriously not suitable for cultivation. But still, he was able to reach the peak of stage 3. What could he say? When he first came here, he thought he would never be able to reach stage 3, but now he was about to reach stage 4. Plus, the reason he could cultivate to this stage was mostly due to fortune. Without those, perhaps he would still be struggling in stage 1. He needed to improve his power, but he couldn't cultivate, so he could only forge the flying sword. Luckily, all the materials were ready. Emo really wanted to thank this auction. Without it, not only was there not enough materials for his flying sword, but he wouldn't even be able to reach peak of stage 3 as well. He casually took out the gung iron essence, deep sea button wood, green silver sand, star jade, and other materials. Emo felt satisfied looking at them. These materials were top-grade materials for making flying swords even in the cultivation realm, but he actually managed to gather it. He would have never believed he could gather it when he first came here. Yemo's power increased a step and his chi fire was also much stronger. Although chi gathering state chi fire was still a bit weak for making flying swords, Yemo had to make one. If he didn't, he wouldn't be able to beat Earth-level masters. Plus, once his power increased, he could reforge it. The reason he chose this place to make the flying sword other than waiting for Luo Ying was because Yemo believed the auction holders wouldn't just let him go. It must have been a hidden sect power that held the auction, and he also heard Jingxi say it was some space organization. Even though Yemo knew these hidden sects wouldn't appear in the mortal world, Yemo didn't dare to be careless. They didn't appear in the mortal world, but it didn't mean they couldn't. If there was something they desire, they would be completely able to come out. For them, it was too easy to lock down Wuliang Mountain. Yemo collected his thoughts and started up a gust of chi fire. Then he put the gung iron essence, deep sea buttonwood, green silver sand, star jade and the other materials into the fire, making the slowly melt and mix. Because Yemo's power was so low, while he was forging the sword, he had to slow down just to recover chi. The impurities of the materials were slowly removed under Yemo's control. If he was foundation establishment stage, Yemo could finish this in one day, but due to his low power, he took half a month to finish refining the materials. After taking them out, he started to forge them into the shape of a sword and mark formations on it. After another half a month, even though Yemo slowed down and rested in between, he was still so tired that his face was pale and his chi was empty. However, Yemo was getting more and more excited because his flying sword was about to be finished. There was a clear chirp and Yemo immediately spat out some essence blood on the flying sword. A 30 centimeters long sword floated in front of Yemo's eyes, emitting a faint purple light. Yemo knew it was due to him adding the star jade. Star jade was such an overpowered material. With Yemo's power, he actually made a high-grade flying sword. Yemo waved his hand and the sword landed on his hand. There was the sense of blood relation. His power was too low, and he couldn't change the size of the flying sword. Once he got stronger, he could turn the flying sword into a small light dot and put it in his dantian, or he could turn it into more than 3 meters long and fly on it. The flying sword seemed intelligent and emitted a sense of intimacy. Go! Yemo casually threw the flying sword out, and it flew around in the air by itself like a glamorous shooting star. Yemo took it back and couldn't help to feel proud. Zhang Zhihui, you old fatty, don't let me see you again. If I see you, I will use your blood to sacrifice to my flying sword. And that auction place as well. Yemo knew that they had bad intentions for him, but he couldn't really just go attack on their doors. After all, they haven't done anything bad yet. Pity he was only a bit away from stage 4. Once he was stage 4, he could just step on the flying sword and fly away. Yemo took the flying sword back but didn't leave immediately. He made more fireball and wind blade charms. At the same time, he used the remaining materials and made Su Ping a long sword. 10 days later, there were 200 more charms in his ring. Yemo stood up with disappointment. It was time to leave. It had been more than a month, but Luo Ying was still nowhere to be seen. She probably wouldn't be back for now. Yemo jumped up the platform in disappointment. He should go back to see his sister first before going to Beijing. Wuliang Mountain seemed desolate in the middle of autumn, and Yemo no longer had the elevated feeling of when he came. If he didn't know Susu was Luo Ying, perhaps he would feel better, but now that he did and still brushed past her, he felt very bad. Plus, he was worried about her. Although the necklace he made her had defensive and offensive abilities, she was too weak herself. I thought you would cower in Wuliang Mountain and not come out. Where else can you hide today? A cold and sinister voice sounded ahead of Yemo. Zhang Zhihui? It's you, old fart. Yemo stopped. He was worried about Luo Ying and didn't notice that Zhang Zhihui was still waiting for him. But now he was very calm. He was at the peak of stage 3 chi gathering and he had a flying sword. Even if he didn't have the sword, he could smash this old guy to death with his fireballs. Humph, you got balls. Xiao Bei, learn how to be a human next life. Originally, I just wanted you to leave the Lu Blue Carrot behind. Now you will leave your life behind too. Zhang Zhihui heard Yemo's disrespectful calling of him and became angrier. Yemo coldly looked at Zhang Zhihui and blandly said, Old fatty, you're really persistent. You actually waited here for more than a month. In that case, I'll sacrifice your blood to my sword. Xiao Bei, you're cocky indeed. I just didn't expect your qinggong to be so excellent. But no matter how good your qinggong is and how talkative your mouth is, this is your last time. I'm afraid Broken Fist Hall will kill you first, so I'll send you on your way, Zhang Zhihui said. The long jian on his back was already in his hand. He swung it, bringing out a sharp sword ray. Emo coldly looked at this. He didn't expect this old guy to still have more moves. Could be seen that these old farts in Earth level weren't easy to mess with. They weren't so superficially angry as they looked. He knew the reason why Zhang Zhihui wanted to kill him so much was to find the Lu Blue Carrot. If he fought with Zhang Zhihui head-on, Emo was sure he was no match for him. However, he was a cultivator, and with a flying sword, why would he need to fight head-on with Zhang Zhihui? Emo stood and raised his hand. Then a faint purple flying sword quickly took on the flying sword ray. Clank! Zhang Zhihui's jian ray disappeared, and a 15 centimeters piece of the tip of Zhang Zhihui's jian fell to the ground. It was just one move, and Zhang Zhihui's long jian was broken. Emo felt satisfied remembering how Zhang Zhihui hacked so many crevices into his sword last time. Flying sword. Zhang Zhihui stared at the flying sword in shock and was dumbfounded. He held his jian, dumbfounded. After a long while, he looked at Emo with extreme shock. You can actually use a flying sword. You? Who are you? Emo sneered. What, old fart, weren't you going to rob my stuff? How come you look like a pissy now? Old fart, how dare you try to rob me? You really think you've lived long enough? Huh. Zhang Zhihui's face was green, but he didn't dare to move. He knew that if he moved, the flying sword above his head would immediately decapitate him. He really didn't imagine someone in this world could use a flying sword. This was only in the fairy tales. If someone else told him that he saw a flying sword, he would for sure say that person was dumb, but now he saw it with his own eyes. Since you have nothing to say, I'll use your head to sacrifice to my flying sword. Emo sneered. The flying sword made a beautiful swirl in the air before landing on Zhang Zhihui's neck. Don't, Qian Bei. Zhang Zhihui didn't dare to talk useless things anymore. Although he could dodge this one, what about next time and the time after that? As long as there was a flying sword, he was dead for sure. Emo controlled his flying sword and blandly said, Any last words? Or you can tell me which sect you're from. I'll annihilate them all. At this moment, Zhang Zhihui no longer dared to doubt Emo's words. Emo really had the power to annihilate an entire sect. Qian Bei, please have mercy. Although I belong to the hidden sects, I'm from the Xian River Zhang family. Zhang Zhihui knew that if he spoke one word wrong, the flying sword could easily pierce his head. Although the flying sword was only an inch away from his neck, he could feel his skin was already pierced and bleeding. He didn't dare to lie. After all, quite a lot of people knew about him from the hidden sections. Xian River Zhang family? Emo repeated and took back the flying sword. He had heard of this family. It was the biggest of the 5 great families, but it was very strange that their main power wasn't in Beijing. Although there were some, their main power was in Xian River. No wonder they could become the first family. They had an Earth-level middle-stage master. Which other family could compare to this? Before he had a flying sword, even he couldn't mess with Earth-level middle-stage masters. Emo was thinking about whether to kill this old fart or get some benefits out of him. As though seeing what Emo was thinking, Zhang Zhihui quickly said, Qian Bei, although our Zhang family isn't so good, if there's anything Qian Bei needs, we have a lot of manpower at the Zhang family. Emo smiled. He knew what Zhang Zhihui meant. He didn't really mean they had a lot of manpower, but that their Zhang family had been passed down for so long, they have a certain amount of savings. The reason this Zhang Zhihui could reach Earth level must be due to Zhang family's huge wealth other than his own luck. Although Emo had a flying sword, his cultivation speed here was too slow. If he could use the Zhang family's wealth to help him search for some herbs, it would benefit both. Thinking about this, Emo took back his sword and said, In that case, I'll let you go for now, but if I find that you're useless to me, I will still kill you. Yes, Qian Bei, I will do everything that you order. Zhang Zhihui wiped the sweat from his head, knowing that he finally saved his life. He was sure that Yemo didn't want to expose himself in front of so many people. If Yemo wanted to kill him last time, it would be all too easy, but then everyone would know that he could use a flying sword. Funny how the Space Association still wants to act against him. He was fine falling from such a high cliff, so it must have been intentional because he had the ability. Luckily, Zhang Zhihui was a fast thinker. Otherwise, he would be killed immediately, much less reach Earth-level tertiary stage. In his view, Yemo was older than him, perhaps a master of the legends. Although Yemo looked young, he had face-preserving pill. Who knew how old he really was? Brother Zhang. Since he was going to cooperate with Zhang Zhihui, Yemo gave him some respect. After all, he was that old. However, it would be impossible for Yemo to call him Chen Bei or something like that. Zhang Zhihui heard this and shivered. He quickly waved his hand and said, "Chen Bei, you mustn't call me Brother Zhang. Just call me Zhang Zhihui." In his heart, Yemo was at least a master beyond the Earth level, perhaps more than 100 years old. Yemo smiled. The reason he didn't kill Zhang Zhihu was firstly due to the Zhang family's huge wealth. Another was that Zhang Zhihui cultivated ancient martial arts. Since he was at Earth level, it meant that he knew about ancient martial arts. Yemo didn't know that much about it, so it would be good to ask him about it. Seeing Yemo not talk, Zhang Zhihui stood by the side, not daring to talk, but his heart was like a ravaging river. In his eyes, Yemo was a magical person. If he could get on his good side, perhaps he would get some unimaginable benefits. Yemo thought a while before saying, "In that case, Zhang Zhihui, your current power is Earth-level middle stage. Then after Earth-level peak stage, would you be heaven stage?" Zhang Zhihui was dazed and looked strangely at Yemo. "Chen Bei, did you not reach beyond Earth level? After the Earth level, it's not heaven stage, we call it great heaven level." Yemo embarrassed himself. There actually wasn't heaven stage, but instead great heaven level. However, he wouldn't show any weakness in front of Zhang Zhihui and smiled. "The things I'm cultivating is beyond ancient martial arts. You could say my current power is equivalent to heaven stage." If he wanted Zhang Zhihui to be obedient, he couldn't say his power was too low. He was barely an Earth level, but with a flying sword, normal Earth level masters were no match for him at all. Zhang Zhihui immediately showed a more reverent expression. His anticipation was right. Those who could use the flying sword were indeed extraordinary. "Then what about after great heaven level?" Yemo asked again after seeing Zhang Zhihui was shocked. "After great heaven level?" Zhang Zhihui murmured and shook his head. "According to what I know, there is currently no one who is at great heaven level, much less after it." "What? There's actually no great heaven martial artist? You mean Earth level is the highest here?" Yemo asked in surprise. Zhang Zhihui seriously nodded. "Yes, Chen Bei, those who cultivate martial arts here, including the hidden sects, the highest is not at great heaven level. Of course, I don't know if there are a few who reached great heaven level and goes hidden. But to be honest, there are even barely a few Earth-level tertiary stage, much less great heaven level." Yemo took a sigh of relief. If it was really like that, he didn't need to worry. There wasn't even a single great heaven level master. His flying sword should be able to dominate them all. Seeing Zhang Zhihui wanting to say something, Yemo immediately said, "If there's something you want to say it." "Yes." Zhang Zhihui quickly agreed. "It's said that Wu Dao monk of Wuliang Mountain is already halfway great heaven stage. He should probably be the strongest in the hidden sections." "Wuliang Temple? Is it in Wuliang Mountain?" Yemo really wanted to go find this monk and test his flying sword. Zhang Zhihui shook his head. "Wuliang Temple's Wuliang isn't the same as Wuliang Mountain's Wuliang. There's a great difference. Wuliang Temple means no one knows where it is, or no one can find it anymore." Yemo waved his hand. He already knew the approximate state of the hidden sections. He had no intentions of asking where the Wuliang Temple was. He just asked, "You said the Broken Fist Hall is here?" Hearing Yemo ask about this, Zhang Zhihui quickly replied, "Yes, Chen Bei, when I came, I found the Broken Fist Hall people blocking the outside. They say you killed their elder." Yemo grabbed the flying sword on top of his head and looked at Zhang Zhihui. "I will go make sacrifices to my sword. Take me to those clowns. Zhang Zhihui didn't reply because he didn't need to. At the moment, more than 10 people had surrounded them. Emo scanned these people coldly and didn't talk. Out of the 12 people, there was 1 Earth-level elementary stage, 4 Black-level and 7 Yellow-level. Brother Zhang, we Broken Fist Hall also know what you're here for. We just want to ask that you give us this Mo Xiao Bei after you take the Lu Blue Carrot. I, Zhang Qingfa, will pay you back. It was the Earth-level talking. He thought Emo was apprehended by Zhang Zhihui. Zhang Zhihui didn't even look at this Earth-level martial artist and said very respectfully to Emo, Qian Bei, these are the people from the Broken Fist Hall. Because Qian Bei killed Zheng Chengzi last time, who was the brother of their leader, they brought almost all of their elite here. Their head is the leader of the Broken Fist Hall, Zhang Qinfa. Zhang Zhihui, what are you doing? The Earth-level heard Zhang Zhihui's words and was shocked. Although they had a lot of people, numbers were useless against Earth-level masters. Emo scanned Zhang Qingfa and blandly said, From today onwards, the Broken Fist Hall no longer needs to exist. I will erase it from existence. How dare you, Zhang Zhihui? Do you think you can take on our Broken Fist Hall all by yourself? Your Zhang family will experience bloodbath from us. Although Zhang Chengfa was concerned with Zhang Zhihui, he wouldn't resist anyone who stopped him from getting revenge. He believed that the reason Emo was so bold was because Zhang Zhihui was supporting him. You talk too much. Emo didn't want to waste words. His flying sword turned into a purple beam and smashed towards Zhang Qingfa's forehead like a shooting star. Clank! Zhang Qingfa blocked the flying sword in that instant, but his sword was already in half. Before he could see what projectile it was, Emo's flying sword turned and pierced the back of his neck. Flying sword! Zhang Qingfa just spat out these 2 words and fell dead to the ground. The intense shock was still there in his eyes. The flying sword still floated in the air with purple rays striking fear into people's hearts. The remaining 11 people were frozen on the spot. What was this flying sword? The legendary flying sword. No one believed it, but their strongest leader had been killed. He had only blocked once, and that was because he sacrificed his precious sword. They were far from Earth level and didn't have good swords in their hands. They wouldn't even be able to see the sword before they were killed. Zhang Zhihui was sweating. If he didn't act fast, he would be a cold body now too. Even if he could block it, he could block it 3 times at most. This flying sword was fast like a comet. Any Earth-level master wouldn't be able to block more than 10 strikes unless it was a great Heaven-level master. Arg! A Black-level peak master was the first to react. He looked at the sword floating in the air and screamed. He could no longer control the fear in his heart and turned to run. Humph! Emo sneered. Since he killed, he had no intentions of letting any of them go. The Broken Fist Hall was different to Zhang Zhihui. It was a hidden sect, so if he didn't kill them all, it would come back again. Plus, he killed the brother of their leader, so there was no way around this feud. The only way was to erase it. Meanwhile, Zhang Zhihui had a large family wealth and had his concerns. Plus, he didn't have that much feud with Emo, so it would be far more useful to let him live than kill him. Under the control of his spirit sense, the flying sword twisted into a purple beam and pierced all of their heads quickly. In the blink of an eye, there were only 2 people left. Emo controlled the sword to spin in the air but didn't move anymore. The remaining people were shocked by Emo's carnage and kneeled down after half a beat, not daring to say anything. All they did was keep bowing their head on the ground. Seeing the bloody scene, Zhang Zhihui shivered. This was real carnage. At this moment, he wouldn't doubt for a bit that Emo could kill his entire family. This guy killed without any emotions. He could tell that Emo often did these types of things. Broken Fist Hall was still a middle-ranked hidden sect, but more than 90% of their elites were gone like that. This Qian Bei was far from as easy to talk to as he had imagined. He didn't kill him probably due to other reasons. Thinking about this, Zhang Zhihui wasn't just feeling cold, he could even feel his calves shivering. Suddenly, Zhang Zhihui felt a frigidness and he subconsciously looked at Emo and saw that Emo was staring at him and sneering. Qian Bei. Zhang Zhihui's head was tingling. Emo didn't say anything but just stared at him once and looked away, closing his eyes. What did the Qian Bei mean? Zhang Zhihui was scared. Was he going to be killed too? But then why did he leave two alive? Emo didn't seem to hear what Zhang Zhihui said, but just looked up at his flying sword and his eyes were indifferent. Zhang Zhihui couldn't understand Yemo's intentions for a long time, but now he saw Emo look at his flying sword, and then on the two remaining people on the ground. He suddenly understood Emo wanted him to kill them. If he didn't show his loyalty now, perhaps this Qian Bei's flying sword would pierce his head immediately. Thinking about this, Zhang Zhihui didn't dare to wait at all. He immediately picked up his sword and rushed quickly in front of the two remaining people and sliced twice. The two kneeling on the ground was confused. They didn't why Zhang Zhihui killed them instead of the flying sword wielder Qian Bei. You're very good. Emo scanned Zhang Zhihui and took back his flying sword. Zhang Zhihui secretly wiped some sweat, thinking he almost didn't understand what Emo meant. Since you want me to kill them, just say it, why be so mysterious and stuff? Zhang Zhihui took a breath of relief and said, Qian Bei, these Broken Fist Hall people are evil. They dare to offend Qian Bei. Serves them right to be killed. Just wait for me to deal with these bodies first. Zhang Zhihui was about to clean away the bodies. After all, even though it was fighting amongst the hidden sects, they still needed to deal with it in secret. Emo smiled and said, no need. Then, Emo casually threw out more than 10 fireballs. He was stage 3 chi gathering peak now, so he could barely use 14 fireballs at once. The bodies on the ground were burned to ashes, and even the ground started to crack. Zhang Zhihui was dumbfounded. If the flying sword gave him great shock, then this fireball made him realize it was the means of gods and sages. He stared at the bodies that had become ashes in disbelief and couldn't say anything. Zhang Zhihui. Emo had asserted his dominance, so he no longer needed to be polite. Yes, Qian Bei. Zhang Zhihui immediately reacted and looked at Emo with reverence and fear. Emo, of course, knew that after the club, he needed to feed the old guy a carrot to make him completely obedient. Now, he nodded satisfactorily seeing Zhang Zhihui's state and said, do you know the address of Broken Fist Hall? Yes, I've been there once. Zhang Zhihui didn't dare to hide anything. Okay, in that case you go finish them. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Emo looked at Zhang Zhihui, giving him an invisible pressure. He wasn't afraid this old man wouldn't agree. He purposely left the last two men for the old man to kill. Now, the old man had to listen to him and exterminate the Broken Fist Hall. Zhang Zhihui didn't dare to say half a no. Even if he didn't kill the Broken Fist Hall people, he didn't dare to disobey Emo's words. Okay, in that case, after you exterminate them, wait for me at the Zhang family. You've stayed in Earth-level middle stage for quite some time, right? As long as you make me happy, I don't mind letting you progress a step further. Emo knew it was time to give the sweet fruit. Zhang Zhihui was shaken. He had been working hard for decades, but he still wasn't able to break through Earth-level middle stage. If he could, he wouldn't be robbing Yemo's blue carrot. It was because the seduction of breakthrough was too great for him that he tried to rob Emo. Now that Emo said he could help him break through, it was like dropping a nuclear bomb. He didn't doubt Yemo's words the slightest bit. Emo was a great heaven-level master, so how could he care about a mere Earth-level middle stage breakthrough? Plus, if he couldn't break through, his lifespan would be up soon. Even those ancient martial artists who cultivate to Earth-level peak stage couldn't extend their life. At most, their bodies would be healthier, and they would live a few extra years than mortals. Only those who reached the legendary Great Heaven level could extend their life by 60 years immediately. However, if he couldn't even reach Earth-level tertiary stage, how could he even reach Great Heaven level? Emo promised that he could reach Earth-level tertiary stage, and Zhang Zhihui was willing to do anything even if he sold everything he had. After a long while, he woke up from this huge joy and immediately knew that Emo wanted him to show his loyalty. As such, he quickly said respectfully, Qian Bei, don't worry. I won't let a single person escape from Broken Fist Hall. Okay, in that case, go do it and wait for me. Remember, if there are some rare herbs and ores, collect it all for me. I will give you a list in some time, help me find the herbs on it. I won't mistreat you, Emo noted. Zhang Zhihui took a breath of relief. He was afraid Emo had no requests, but since Emo had some, he felt assured. If he had no value, He didn't believe a decisive killer like Emo would let him go. When Zhang Zhihui left, Emo glanced at the brush on the side and sneered. This person was hiding there when he killed Zhang Qingfa. However, Emo didn't expose him. He knew it was that Shi Wushan from the auction. He believed that after the old guy saw his powers, the people from the auction wouldn't dare to mess with him. The reason he didn't get into more conflict with the auction association was because of resources. Perhaps he could collaborate with the association again. However, if they tried to play any tricks, he could annihilate them at any time with his current power. As soon as he left Wu Liang Mountain, Emo called Xiao Gang. After all, he promised him to race for him but had delayed it due to his own things. He didn't know whether it was finished already. But regardless, he had to greet Xiao Gang since he took his money. Xiao Gang was very surprised to hear Yemo's voice. "Big bro, I thought you had forgotten about this. I tried calling you but can't reach you. The race is in 6 days, where are you? I'll come pick you up." Yemo didn't expect the race to not have begun yet. He looked at the calendar on the phone and discovered that it wasn't the end of the month yet. In that case, he would help Xiao Gang. After all, Xiao Gang's money helped him in a time of great need. Thinking about this, he immediately said, "I'm going to Tandu Shifan University to find my sister. Just find me the day before the race." "Ah, great, the race is near Tandu in the Guilin Valley. I'll come pick you up at that time." "Thanks. How do I call you, brother?" Xiao Gang was worried for a month. Just when he was lost, he received Yemo's call and was very excited. It was not that he thought Yemo was a fraud, but he felt with Yemo's supercar skills it would be too easy to earn hundreds of thousands, and there was no need to cheat him. "I'm Yemo." At this time, Yemo no longer needed to hide. The hidden sects already know of his identity. He hid his identity because he was too weak. Now that his flying sword was made, unless he wanted to fight the entire country or the entire hidden sects, he didn't need to be scared. Those two conditions wouldn't even exist. He didn't harm the country, and in addition, he was the instructor of flying snow and had the permit to kill. Shishuang Temple. A few people rushed over into that secret meeting room. Shi Wushan was already restless. "Elder Shi, why did you call us in a hurry over here?" The one talking was Lady Fong. Yu Shixiong sat down slowly and said, "Lady Fong, don't worry. I think we probably found that Moing." However, Shi Wushan stood up and said, "Yu Shixiong, I have indeed found his traces and also saw his real face. That young man is only in his 20s, but you saw him being attacked by the Broken Fist Hall people?" the goatee said. Shi Wushan nodded, but before he said anything else, Lady Fong continued, "Was he killed by the Broken Fist Hall people? If that's the case, are they not giving us space association any face at all?" Yu Shixiong shook his head and calmly said, "Lady Fong is too hasty. Their Broken Fist Hall is not bad, but they're not at the stage to disregard us. Even if that Mo-ing killed Xianxia, they wouldn't dare to act so confident. I think she sure has something else to say. We must get Mo-ing. What conditions did they bring up?" Shi Wushan shook his head and said, "Broken Fist Hall didn't say anything. That's impossible. Even if they are giving us face, they will certainly still have some conditions." Yu Shixiong shook his head. He believed his judgment was right. Shi Wushan seriously said, "It's not that they won't, but they can't. The 12 people who attacked Moing, including their leader Zhang Qingfa, were all killed by Moing." "What?" Yu Shixiong exclaimed as his cup fell to the ground. Splashed water, but he didn't notice it at all. After half a beat, he gasped and said, "Zhang Qingfa is at the peak of Earth-level elementary stage, and he has 11 good men. That young man can kill him. Was he pretending before?" Shi Wushan heavily nodded. "I think he might have been acting before. I clearly saw from the side that this person is very decisive in killing, and he is also merciless. He could actually kill Zhang Qingfa and 11 strong men's attack. Shi Dai, what level is he?" Yu Shixiong recovered from the shock and calmed down. Shi Wushan seriously said, "I suspect he has reached Great Heaven level already." "What?" Not only Yu Shixiong was shocked again, but also Lady Fong and the goatee. Great Heaven level? Was Great Heaven level this easy? Ancient martial arts hadn't had a Great Heaven master in over a few centuries. Shi Dai. Did you see wrong? This Mo-ing once killed Lone Wolf, but it's too much to say he's great heaven level. Yu Xiong's face was getting more and more serious. Shi Wushan shook his head and said, I'm sure I saw it right. I was suspicious last time when he fell off the cliff. Even an Earth-level peak stage master would die if they fall from that cliff, but he even managed to survive unscathed. And you know how many moves he used to kill Zhang Qingfa? You might not believe it, but he only used 2 moves. However, I feel that these 2 moves was only a single and very simple move. The remaining people were shocked into silence. Killing an Earth-level martial artist with 1 move, even an Earth-level peak stage couldn't do that. Then perhaps it was really possible that he was great heaven level. Seeing these few people with their mouth open in shock, Shi Wushan sighed. I saw it with my own eyes. Otherwise I wouldn't believe it too. At that time there was Zhang Zhihui by his side. But he was also defeated by Mo-ing and he even surrendered to him. Do you know the weapon he used? He actually used a flying sword. You won't believe it, but he could actually command a flying sword. The speed of it was like a comet and even emitted light rays. Although Zhang Qingfa blocked that sword sliced apart his sword and then the sword flew back and pierced Zhang Qingfa's heart from the back. I really can't describe that sword. Flying sword? The people in the room had turned to stone. Before, they still believed that the young man was really great heaven level, but now, after knowing that he could use a flying sword, there was certainly no doubt that he was at great heaven level. After a long while, Lady Feng murmured, he could use a flying sword. Is there really a great heaven level master? It's really... Shi Wushan sighed. That's not what shocked me the most. What stunned me was that he could throw out fireballs with his hand, and those 12 people were burnt to ashes. Ha! Yu Xiong could no longer control the shock in his heart and sat down with a pale face. After a while, he and Lady Feng murmured, we dared to challenge a great heaven-level master. He was actually a great heaven level. We're crazy. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and stood up. Shi Dai immediately stopped the investigation and tracking of him as well as any operations on him. We can't mess with someone like that. Shi Wushan bitterly smiled. It's too late. I'm sure he noticed me when I hit on the side. But he just stared at me and sneered. He didn't call out my name, but I'm certain he noticed me. He's that strong? Godi sighed after a long while. Yu Xiong sunk into a long silence before slowly saying, if he really wanted revenge against us, we have no way to stop him. Since he discovered Shi Di and didn't point it out, it meant he has some other intentions or someplace where he needs our help. Plus, we haven't really offended him yet. Zhang Zhihui offended him that much, but he didn't kill him and instead took him under his wing. Perhaps we can be like Zhang Zhihui too. Xiong, you mean? Shi Wushan's eyes lit up. He couldn't say this analysis was wrong. Yu Xiong had calmed down now and said again, this person can take out something like Lotus Life Pill and Face Preserving Pill meant that he's definitely someone powerful and cares a lot about herbs. The reason he didn't fight with us was not because he was scared of us, but because he wants to borrow us to do something for him just like Zhang Zhihui. Then what do we do now? Contact him, Lady Feng said. Yu Xiong shook his head, however. No, this Qian Bei has a weird temper and plus he's probably more than 100 years old. We can only wait for him to come to us. If we annoy him again, our space association will really be in danger. And we need to notify our elders. This is no minor issue. Although Mo wanted to give the association some pressure, he didn't expect the effect to be so well. Now, he was on the plane towards Tandu. He would go see Tang Beiwei and treat her mother. Last time, he gave a pill to her, so Mo was sure it could save her mum's life for at least half a year. It was the second time Mo came to Tandu. The first time was with Wendong, but he didn't even go in the city and just left with Wendong after they blew up the mansion, so he wasn't very familiar with Tandu. However, Tandu Shifan University was quite famous. He called a taxi over, and the taxi driver knew where it was. Mo stood at the gate of the university watching the pairs of guys and girls. They either had their arms around each other or were holding hands. If he didn't know this was a university, he would have thought it was a place for wedding registration. He sighed. The students here seemed more open than Ninghai University students. However, He didn't really know that much about Ninghai University as he stayed in the library all day. Although there were a lot of students going in and out, Yemo seemed very spiritual and out of this world just by standing there. And due to cultivating for a long time, he had this ethereal temperament. Plus, his clothes were chosen by Yiling, which not only suited him but was also good brands. So immediately he seemed to stand out amongst the students. Perhaps due to his out-of-this-world temperament, many students discussed about him. He didn't know where Tang Beiwei was and didn't know which course she was in. The only thing he knew was that she studied here. He walked to the front door and stopped a girl with a few books and said very politely, "Hello, may I ask?" Before Yemo could finish, he saw the girl glare at him and say, "I don't know." "Don't know?" Yemo was confused. He didn't even say where he wanted to go. Who said only girls knew where the girls' dorms were? Yemo thought guys should know its whereabouts too. Why did he have to ask a girl? Yemo blamed himself for being too dumb, but this girl was too rude. He stepped aside and stopped the guy behind her. "Hey, do you know where the girls' dorms are?" Before the guy could reply, the girl just then immediately turned around and politely said, "Hey, sorry about just then. I know where the girls' dorms are. How about I take you there?" A minute ago, she told him she didn't know coldly, but now, she was full of smiles and offered to take him there. The change was too great. Yemo turned and looked at this girl and frowned. What was this? The guy Yemo asked saw this and quickly smiled and slipped away. This girl's change had aroused Yemo's suspicion. He started to study this girl. She seemed to be in her 20s and were more mature than most students. However, she was relatively pretty. Her skin was white, and her hair was shoulder length. Amidst her cold temperament, there was also arrogance. Her lips were rather thin, and it could be seen she was a little cold-hearted. This girl was weird. Yemo didn't want any trouble, so he said, "No need. You can just point a direction for me." The girl seemed to be bemused, but she quickly enthusiastically said, "No, I'll take you there. I'm afraid you won't be able to find the way if I just point a direction." But her cold temperature didn't match this hospitality. Before Yemo could talk, a bright red sports car stopped in front of him, and a handsome youth got off. This youth walked over and said to the girl in front of Yemo, "Hichi, I saw you from across the road. It's such a coincidence. Let's go, we'll go together." Yemo looked at this car. He had no knowledge about cars. Other than some really good cars, he knew nothing about it. He didn't even know what brand this car was. This Hichi was suddenly about to grab Yemo's hand, but Yemo just swung his hand back and the girl missed. She looked at Yemo in surprise. There was no hint for her movement, but this guy could dodge it. However, she immediately began to feel uncomfortable. She was a pretty girl. Was he going to lose something if she grabbed his hand? If this guy didn't have such a temperament, she wouldn't even get help from him. Yemo had understood now and was filled with disgust towards this girl. He thought of Sume. She was exactly the same like Sume, wanting to use him to avoid this youth. There was actually such a woman. He didn't even know her, and she wasn't even willing to help him with the way. But now she wanted to use him. Yemo was not only disgusted, but he also extremely detested this girl. If she helped him point the way, then perhaps he wouldn't mind helping her. However, this Ichi not only wouldn't help him point the way, but she also wanted to use him to block a guy she didn't like. It was obvious this man driving the sports car was no ordinary person. If it was any other guy, they wouldn't have a good ending. Could be seen how heartless this woman was. Only thinking about herself and completely disregarding others. Yemo sneered. He didn't want to help this girl at all. "Hello, I'm Zhang He." This youth took his hand and wanted to shake hands with Yemo. His mannerism was elegant and seemed very polite. However, Yemo's spirit sense scanned a small prick on this youth's ring, and a blue light flashed very quick. This prick was very small. If he shook hands with him, the needle would pierce into his hand. Such a malicious guy, this pair of animals. The youth smiled so amicably but was so malicious. He didn't even know who he was or who Yemo was to this girl and wanted to attack him. Although Yemo didn't know if the tip was poisoned, he knew this needle wasn't a simple thing. Yemo casually hit out a strand of chi into the palm of the youth and coldly looked at the youth. Not interested. Then he turned and left. This youth saw that Emo didn't even want to shake hands with him, and his eyes immediately went cold. He didn't believe anyone would see the prick on his ring because it was extremely small. Wait for me, ah. The girl saw Emo ignore the youth and turned to leave. She was surprised but immediately reacted and chased towards Emo. Piss off. Emo stopped and said without remorse. Not only the girl was shocked, but so was all the students around the school. Someone actually told Princess Chi to piss off. Was this guy drunk? This girl was also shocked. It was the first time she was told to piss off. However, she reacted real quick and immediately said, I have nothing to do with Zhang He. Don't misunderstand me. Then, she charged up and attempted to grab Emo's sleeve. Zhang He was extremely furious. The girl he liked said she had nothing with him in front of him to explain to another guy. Emo was so angry he laughed instead. He was just asking for the way and asked out such a problem. He pulled the girl's hand away, then looked coldly and said, You have nothing with him just because you say so? I don't think a woman like you would have nothing with anyone. I'm not interested in a woman like you the slightest bit. Don't pester me or don't blame me for what happens next. The girl was shocked. She didn't expect there would be such a person like Emo, ignoring her beauty like it was nothing. In her view, it would be the guy's honor that she used him for a shield, but this guy was completely different. She couldn't accept this at all. She was arrogant and had nothing with the Zhang He, but this male student said such words. At this moment, she calmed herself and looked at Emo. Other than a different temperament, this student had a handsome face with distinctive features, as well as this out-of-this-world temperament, making her forget to rebuke Emo's words. Bei Wei. Emo's spirit sense scanned a girl walking to a classroom with her head low. It was obviously Tang Bei Wei. At this moment, he had no mood to waste time with this woman, so he took a few steps over. When the girl reacted, Emo was already tens of meters away. Ichi was stunned. She didn't even see how Emo left. All that remained was a back figure. She rubbed her eyes. Did she see wrong? However, Zhang He put down the phone and sneered at Emo's back. He originally only planned on making Emo suffer a little, but he was really pissed now. Bei Wei, what's wrong? Emo saw Tang Bei Wei didn't go in the classroom but cry in a dark corner. Tang Bei Wei suddenly heard Emo's voice and drastically looked up. She was dazed for a moment before calling out, Big brother. She ran into Emo's arms and started crying. Emo grabbed the necklace on Tang Bei Wei's chest and his face sunk. It was obviously activated before, meaning that somebody had attacked her. He patted Tang Bei Wei's shoulder and said, Bei Wei, what happened? Why are you so skinny? Did someone attack you as well? Tang Bei Wei took a breath of relief and rubbed her eyes. Then she looked up at Emo and said, Big brother, I thought I wouldn't be able to see you again. I couldn't reach your phone, Don't rush, talk slowly. You still haven't eaten dinner, right? Let's go, we'll talk as we eat dinner. Emo helped Tang Bei Wei wipe her tears and comforted her. Tang Bei Wei, you're quite bold. You dare to be with another guy so intimately. A guy wearing a black shirt took out his phone. He coldly looked at Tang Bei Wei as he spoke. Then, he immediately made a call as though he was reporting to someone. Not just this guy but tens of other students were all looking on. Their eyes were either filled with pity or sympathy. Some emotional girls were already worrying for Emo. Although it was fun being with the prettiest girl in Tandu, but the following consequence wouldn't be what he could deal with. This guy looked pretty handsome too. Brother Qian Tang Bei Wei is actually hugging with another student. Yes, just below our building, oh okay. The guy hung up and sneered to Emo while walking over slowly. Punk. You dare to touch the woman Brother Qian he pre-ordered? As soon as this man spoke, two other guys came from behind him. These two signaled the one who made the call and surrounded Emo and Tang Bei Wei. Leave Tang Bei Wei aside. Break this guy's leg first, the first guy said to the other two. They dared to look at his sister like an item, and they would even break the person's leg as long as they made contact with his sister without even asking questions. Emo's killing intent rose. Wait! Just when the few guys were about to attack, the girl from before came over and yelled. The man who made the call stopped and looked at Hichi before saying, Sister Chi, this is Brother Qianhe's order. It's best you don't get involved, otherwise. The He-Chi girl's face changed. Obviously, she knew who Qianhe was and felt threatened by him. However, she still said to Yemo, I didn't know you had such relationship with Tang Beiwei. Leave her quickly and apologize. Otherwise, if something happens, don't blame me for not reminding you. Yemo coldly looked at He-Chi. Move aside. Don't piss me off or I'll beat you too. Yemo had no good impression whatsoever of this woman. You. He-Chi finally couldn't take Yemo's attitude anymore. Her face changed and wanted to say something but eventually didn't. She really moved aside but her eyes were full of contempt. After the girl moved away, Yemo scanned the student who made the call and slowly said, You said you were going to break my leg just then? Indeed. But now it won't just be that. Your hand needs to be broken too. Charge. Then, the guy charged up and smashed towards Yemo's face with his fist. The two guys from the side also came up kicking towards Yemo's left and right leg. Obviously, it wasn't the first time they were fighting together and had good cooperation. Before Tang Beiwei reacted, Yemo had already jumped up and kicked out his foot. This foot kicked over the left guy before kicking into the front guy's wrist. And that wasn't the end. Continued to kick into the left leg the right guy kicked out. When these three were kicked into a pile by Yemo, Yemo landed with Tang Beiwei. It was a perfect 360 turn and these three didn't even turn Yemo's clothes. So handsome. People were already cheering. Kicking three people with one kick and spinning a circle in the air with someone in his arms. This was too awesome. This He-Chi looked at Yemo in a daze. She just remembered that Yemo left her without her even noticing. There were rays in her eyes. She had an instinct that this handsome guy was no ordinary person. Tang Beiwei looked at the three guys kicked onto the ground. She didn't talk and wasn't surprised. She knew how strong her brother was. He even killed people. Yemo walked over, looked at the three guys and said once again, Just then, you said you were going to break my hand and leg, right? That's right, punk. Don't think you can be arrogant just because you know a few moves. You won't be able to die even if you want to after offending Brother Qianhe. You dare to mess with Brother Qianhe and take his woman. You don't want to live anymore, arg. The guy could no longer talk because Yemo had stepped on his mouth. Yemo could crush the guy's entire head. But with so many students watching, he didn't want to do that. He just broke off all of his teeth, leaving behind a mouth full of blood. Arg. The guy didn't expect Yemo to be so cruel. However, he didn't expect that what followed next would be more cruel. Yemo kicked a few times, producing a terrifying cracking sound. In that moment, Yemo broke all of their limbs. The students looked on in shock. This guy seemed very amicable, but he was so cruel when he attacked. Not only did he beat up Qianhe's men, but he also crushed all of their limbs. This wasn't breaking but pulverizing. These three students were gone, but so was this guy. He was really gone. He messed with someone he couldn't mess with. The people around didn't expect this to not be over yet. Yemo kicked the three unconscious guys into a pond before leaving with Tang Beiwei. After a while, people remembered that if they didn't pick the three up, they would drown to death. This wasn't a fight, it was murder. He-Chi looked and shivered. Although she had seen many cruel people and heard about the stories in mafias, but this was the first time she saw someone almost kill in a school. This person was too cruel. However, the three guys didn't drown to death. As soon as Yemo left, their men dragged the three out and sent them to the hospital, but most people knew that even if they were sent to the hospital, they would have to spend their life on wheelchair. Brother! Tang Beiwei worriedly called out. Yemo waved his hand and said, Don't worry, Beiwei. We siblings won't mess with other people, but other people can't mess with us. As long as I still have a last breath left, no one can touch you. Tang Beiwei hummed. The fear and depression that have been suffocating her for 2 months were finally starting to dissipate. Tell me what happened later. This has just started, and I won't let it go like this. Is my sister so easily bullied? They're blind. Yemo saw the terror in Tang Beiwei's and felt more furious. This student, stop. When Yemo and Tang Beiwei reached the school gate, a security guard with a black stick stopped them. Yemo pulled Tang Beiwei behind him and coldly looked at the security guard. What? This student can't leave the school yet. The security guard pointed at Tang Beiwei. If he didn't see Emo teach those few guys a lesson, perhaps he would have attacked Emo already. Emo's eyes went cold. He didn't need the guard to explain, and he knew why. This guy had quite a lot of power. He actually guarded his sister and imprisoned her in the school. Emo walked up, and before the guard could react, he had already picked him up by the neck. Then he slapped him before kicking him away, crashing into a wall, unable to move. Then he slowly said, "I'm taking her out today, what can you do?" Although he taught the guard a lesson and the other two guards didn't dare to move, Emo was getting more and more unhappy. This was a university. Why was it like a private backyard for hoodlums? What bullshit university was this? As soon as Emo left with Tang Beiwei, a top-of-the-range rover charged into the school grounds. It stopped at where Emo beat up those guys. A fierce man got off the car. He had two sturdy bodyguards behind him. The fierce man's face sunk and asked, "What happened?" "A guy broke Bao brother and them's limbs. They were sent to the hospital and this man took away Tang Beiwei. We were no match for him." Immediately, two guys came and spoke carefully. At this moment, the two guards rushed over and saluted to this fierce man before saying, "Young master, someone took away Tang Beiwei just then and beat our guard." "Humph, useless." This fierce man swore and continued, "He dares to touch the woman I pre-ordered. He wants to fucking die." The police siren sounded and 4 police cars drove into the school grounds. A middle-aged policeman got off the first car. He saw the fierce man and immediately ran over, saying respectfully, "Young master, someone called us saying you've suffered some losses. I came immediately." The fierce man nodded. "Lao Wu, good job. Investigate where the man took Tang Beiwei and notify me. You don't need to worry about capturing him." "Yes, young master, I'll be going then." The police officer then went into the police car and left. The fierce man looked at the leaving police car and his eyes grew cold. "You dare to take my woman and break my subordinate's limbs. If I let you walk out of Tandu, then I don't need to live." Shilong restaurant wasn't too far from the university, and it was near the lake. Moreover, the environment was elegant, though the price was a little expensive. "Brother, the things here are very expensive. Let's go another place," Tang Beiwei said. Emo waved his hand and said, "No need eat here. If people come later, I can let them go take a shower in the lake. I've earned some money recently, and I still have a few millions." Emo knew that the person who could imprison his sister in the school had extraordinary power, perhaps even not far from the Song family. "A few million? How do you have so much? I still haven't used the card you gave me last time." Although Tang Beiwei was shocked, she thought about the fireball charms and understood. Each one of those would probably sell for quite a lot. Emo brought Tang Beiwei to the second floor in a private room near the lake, and after the waiter served water, he asked, "Tell me what happened? How is your mother?" Tang Beiwei's eyes darkened after a while. She slowly said, "I gave my mother the pill you gave me. She got better in just a day. I originally had enough money to take her to do surgery, but I still wanted to wait for you. Emicham, don't worry, 99% of the diseases are no problem for me." Emo smiled. Tang Beiwei nodded. "MHM, I was thinking so as well, but the second day, a man in his 50s came to my house. When mother saw him, she was very excited and talked to him for a long time. I heard mother cry from outside." Emo frowned. This person seemed to come at this time too coincidentally. Tang Beiwei sunk into that day's memory as she spoke. Tang Beiwei felt strange, usually. There were no guests in the house and she had never seen this middle-aged man before. However, when her mother saw him, she was stunned. Who was he? He talked with her mother for a long time. Her mother's voice was very excited and kept sniffing, but the man's voice was very calm. "Beiwei." Tang Beiwei heard her mother's crying and wanted to go in and see, but her mother called her from inside. Tang Beiwei quickly went inside and saw the man holding her mother's hand. She was shocked. She didn't know who the man was, but she had a guess that this was the person who abandoned her. She didn't expect he had the face to come back. However, her mother was too kind-hearted and believed him so quickly. Bei Wei. This is Uncle Song I told you. Before Tang Jing finished, Tang Bei Wei immediately understood. That must have been the man her mother was talking about. She immediately pointed at the man and swore, "Piss off. Don't come to my house again. You harmed my mother before, and now you're here to harm her again. Piss off." Tang Bei Wei thought about the hardship her mother had been in and felt more contempt towards this man. He harmed his mother for her entire life and now he dared to come back. Tang Jing's ruddy face immediately became pale. She quickly sat up and said, "Bei Wei, don't curse at Qiming. He had his troubles. When he wanted to come find me, I had already left Beijing." Bei Wei. Tang Bei Wei rushed beside her mother and helped her up while staring coldly at Song Qiming. "Go. I won't curse you anymore due to Mom. Stop trying to trick my mum." Song Qiming looked at Tang Bei Wei in shock. No wonder Dongfang she wanted to use her to seduce Yemo. This Tang Bei Wei was too pretty, but she wasn't his daughter. If Tang Jing didn't tell him, he would have thought Tang Bei Wei was his daughter. Thinking about Tang Jing's miscarriage, he finally had some guilt, but it then disappeared very quickly. "Bei Wei, please don't make Mum." Tang Jing saw that the person she had lived with for most of her life being so aggressive towards the lover she had forgiven and spat out blood in a fit of worry. Tang Bei Wei no longer dared to say anything about Song Qiming. She quickly came up and helped her mother up. "Mom, sorry, what's wrong?" "Bei Wei, forgive Qiming, he really didn't mean it, Before Tang Jing finished, she started breathing heavily. Song Qiming brought a tub of water and washed Tang Jing carefully. Then, he looked at Tang Bei Wei and said, "Bei Wei, regardless of whether you believe me, the biggest mistake of my life is not finding your mother. Now that I found her, even if I use up my remaining years, I will treat her condition and I won't let her stay outside anymore. I want to get your mother to Beijing. How about I help you transfer schools and you can come as well?" Tang Bei Wei coldly looked at Song Qiming and ignored him. She didn't believe the cruel-hearted person would repent. Although Tang Bei Wei didn't know what happened, she didn't trust Song Qiming. "Mom, are you really going to Beijing?" Tang Bei Wei really didn't want to leave her mother, and she didn't want her mother to go Beijing's Song family either. She immediately knew she was wrong. Her mother just grabbed Song Qiming's hand. Her eyes were full of hope and happiness that she didn't even hear her daughter's words. Tang Bei Wei suddenly felt sad. She had been living with her mother for more than 20 years, and her mother treated like a real daughter. But this Song guy stole away his mother as soon as he came. Was this the power of love? She knew she was being tricked, but she still lied to herself to believe the Song guy. She suddenly remembered Yemo. Was her mother's desperation to see this Song man the same as her desperation to see her brother? No, her feelings were sibling feelings and it was different to her mother, but she felt something wasn't right. If it was kinship, she felt she was closer with her mother than Yemo. Although Yemo was her brother, she felt he was more of a friend. "Bei Wei, come to Beijing with me as well? I'm worried about you staying at Tandu by yourself." Tang Jing finally remembered her daughter. Tang Bei Wei's heart sunk. This Song man made her mother completely trust him in half a day. If she knew earlier this would happen, she wouldn't have let him in. "Mom, I want to stay here and wait for brother." Tang Bei Wei wanted to stay with Yemo more. If her mother didn't leave, it would be best if the three of them could live together. But her mother wanted to go to the Song family. Tang Jing shook her head, grabbed Tang Bei Wei's hand and said after half a beat, "Bei Wei, I'll be rest assured if you stay with brother. Your brother gave you so much money the first time he saw you. I can tell he loves you a lot. I'm not worried. You've suffered quite a lot living with me all these years. Your mother is very useless." "No, Mum." Tang Bei Wei felt more sad and didn't want to leave her mother. However, for the first time, she saw her constantly depressed mother feel happiness, so couldn't tell her mother to not leave her. Song Qiming looked at Tang Jing in confusion. "Brother." Tang Jing immediately told him that Tang Bei Wei was siblings with Yemo. Hearing this, Song Qiming's face changed. No wonder Dongfang she was going to use Tang Bei Wei was a bait. It wasn't due to beauty, but because they were siblings. This Dongfang she was malevolent indeed. But looking at Tang Bei Wei, Dongfang she's plan failed for sure. If he succeeded, Tang Beiwei wouldn't be in state. What's wrong, Qiming? All of Tang Jing's attention was on Song Qiming. Song Qiming's face changed for a while before sighing. I also know that he's someone powerful, but our Song family offended him, and now he wants revenge on the Song family. I sigh. I didn't expect he was Beiwei's brother. Ha! Tang Jing also yelled out in surprise, but she immediately understood the relations and turned to Tang Beiwei and said, Beiwei, can you persuade your brother to let Qiming go? Tang Beiwei immediately began to suspect Song Qiming's purpose. Perhaps he already knew that she was siblings with Yemo and came to her for mercy. Seeing that Tang Beiwei didn't talk, Tang Jing was more worried and said, Beiwei. Her eyes were full of anxiety. Tang Beiwei sighed. Mother, I don't really know about what my brother does. I'll ask him then. Although she didn't want to agree, her mother's hopeful eyes made her feel very bad. Her mother brought her up for more than 20 years working tirelessly. She really couldn't reject this request. Hearing about this, Yemo's face was bleak. Song Qiming, even if you get the god of the heavens, I will still annihilate your Song family. Tang Beiwei finished and saw Yemo not talk. Then she continued. Then, that Song Qiming bowed to me and begged for mercy, but I ignored him. However, my mother said I must beg for mercy from you. My mother was taken to Beijing by him. I didn't want to go, so I stayed. I really don't understand why mother would listen to that Song Qiming. Even, Tang Beiwei really couldn't finish her words. Her mother was number one in her heart. She must have been first in her mother's heart too. But she didn't expect her to be worse than Song Qiming in front of love. Yemo knew that since Song Qiming took away Tang Jing, when he goes for revenge at the Song family in Beijing, the Song family would push out Tang Beiwei's mother for sure. No matter what, he can't let the mother who raised Tang Beiwei for more than 20 years be hurt. This Song Qiming was really malicious. We'll put this aside first. Who did you offend at the university? How dare he act against you like this? Yemo wanted to know who was targeting his sister. We'll talk after we eat. Yemo looked at Tang Beiwei's distressed look and knew she was troubled heavily by this recently. Tang Beiwei nodded and felt more comfortable after telling what happened with her mother. And, since this restaurant's food was quite good, she had a big appetite. Those people who watch me call their boss Chen no one dares to mess with him in Tan. I only knew I was already in their list a long time ago when I came back. However, they brought my name forward. Tang Beiwei ate some things and felt more energy. Yemo dazed. What list? Tang Beiwei said. That Chen, he is a demon. I don't know why he is still able to roam free today, but he has harmed a lot of girls, from those in high school to those in uni. He has a list with girls' names on it. It's not just from school, but as long as there's a girl he wants, he would write it into his list. Then, Tang Beiwei subconsciously moved more towards Yemo before saying, when I was in 3rd year, I was already in his list. His list is very clear which day, what place, and which girl he needs. There's an order. Originally, he would take me a few months later, but after I came back from Wuliang Mountain and ate the face-preserving pill, I was brought forward. It said he would take me away at the end of the month. End of the month? Isn't it only a few days? Yemo was shocked. If he came back a few days late, the consequences were unimaginable. Tang Beiwei nodded. I originally didn't know we had a school queen called Cici. I was very close to her. A month ago, she was taken away. When she came back, her face was tawny. When she found me, I knew that she saw that list and I was one of that. And she also heard those people discussing about me. She told me to run as soon as possible, and after she told me that, she ran away herself that night. Why didn't you go? Yemo asked strangely. Tang Beiwei shook her head. The night she ran away, she was captured, and the next day, I heard the report of her jumping off the building. I know she didn't do it because someone did this to her. Then I wanted to leave the school, but the guard didn't let me leave. I realized that I was being watched everywhere and had to wait until I was taken away. Yemo's face was getting bleaker by the moment. Such overt defiance of the law. Tang Beiwei continued. A few days ago, I borrowed a friend's phone to call the police. The second day, my friend had a beating. The injuries were very serious, and he was sent to the hospital. Luckily, you gave me a necklace. That night, someone wanted to attack me, probably to teach me a lesson, but he was bounced away by the necklace. So I always kept a few fireball charms on me. If they were really going to take me away, I would use the fireball charm to hit them, but I knew I only had a few. If you didn't come back, I might still fall into their hands. Emo sunk into silence. He didn't understand why the guy needed so many girls. Was he really cultivating some evil art like in the cultivation world and needed virgins? This wasn't too realistic. After all, those types of cultivation methods were very rare even in the cultivation realm, much less here. Brother, today is the day I'm most relieved. I don't want to go to Shurfan University anymore. I've already graduated. I originally planned on continuing my studies, but now I don't dare to go there. The worry in Tang Beiwei's eyes weren't completely gone yet. Just when Emo wanted to speak, the room's door was kicked open and 3 men went in. Tang Beiwei subconsciously moved closer to Emo and worriedly said, "Brother, I've seen one of them go to our school. It's the tallest one." Cici was taken away by him. As soon as she finished, the tallest man had walked over and grabbed towards Tang Beiwei. "You dare to run, I want to see where you can run to. The girls from your school are intolerable. Not only one wants to run." Emo's eyes went cold and kicked onto the tall man's face. This man was immediately kicked flying and smashed into the wall. Smash! The wall broke, showing the other room. A few customers were eating inside and were shocked by the scene. Before the other 2 men could react, Emo went up and stomped on the tall man so hard that he bled from every hole on his body. Suddenly, organs were spat out from his mouth. At this moment, those customers reacted and immediately ran out of the room. At the same time, the 2 other men was frozen seeing that Emo stomped the man to death as soon as they met. Then, Emo turned around and looked coldly at the other 2. "Did you 2 come to just die? You actually killed Black Panther, you?" One of them pointed at Emo and said, "He didn't dare to go up and attack Emo. I killed him. What are you going to do?" Emo sneered. "Nice powers, we're no match for you, of course we don't dare to anything. Goodbye." The long-faced man spoke, worried. He knew that Black Panther could beat them 1v2. But Black Panther was no match for the person in front of them. They would just die even if they went up. Emo wiped his hands with a tissue on the table. "You think you can come and go as you please? Do you think I'm so easy to visit? What do you want?" The long-faced man stared nervously at Emo. If Emo attacked, they were no match for sure, and Emo killed more cruelly than them. Even they didn't dare to kill openly in the streets, but this person did. All they thought right now was how to escape. "Nothing. You 2 carry this dead guy away." Emo pointed at the tall man. The long-faced man immediately agreed. Okay. We'll go immediately. Air tie, carry Black Panther, and let's retreat." Although Tang Beiwei had seen Emo kill and she had killed with a fireball charm before, she couldn't help but feel revolted by this bloody scene. Emo grabbed Tang Beiwei's hand and sent some chi over, helping her calm her stomach. Then he said, "Beiwei, I will go with them, you?" Tang Beiwei immediately said, "Brother, I will go with you. I'm scared to stay here alone." "Okay, in that case, let's go together. I'm just worried you won't be able to take the scene." Emo nodded and said, "It doesn't matter. As long as you're there, I won't be afraid." Tang Beiwei knew this brother she just met was no ordinary person. Just as he said, he knew Dao magic. She didn't need to worry about her brother. Those who knew Dao magic were like those in the fairy tales. The long-faced man was surprised and looked at Emo. "Why, you're going back with us?" Emo sneered. "What? Didn't you guys come to invite me? Now I'll do as you want and go with you guys. Is that not okay?" It's fine. Air tie, carry Black Panther. Let's go back immediately." The long-faced man was decisive and quickly left. Emo walked to the front desk, took out his card and said, "I'll pay by card." The chubby manager at the front desk was already shaking uncontrollably. "You've already paid, no need." He didn't dare to ask these people for money. These people killed, and he didn't even dare to call the police. Emo knew that the three men probably warned the manager, so he didn't bother to waste time with him. He held Tang Beiwei's hand and went on a Land Rover with the long-faced man. The car drove out of the city. It was very fast and came to a private mansion in the rural in less than an hour. To be exact, this wasn't a mansion but a private ranch. There was a large patch of forest and an artificial lake. Emo came here and found this place to be familiar. He came here with Wendong to exchange the model. He didn't expect to come here a second time, but last time the mansion was blown up. It had only been 1 year, and the mansion was built again, and it was even prettier than before. Emo sneered. He didn't expect he would encounter this mansion twice. It meant those who lived here had bad luck. The car stopped in front of the ranch. The guard checked and let them in. Take them in. When the long-faced man got off the car, a man with a knife scar on his face came over. The knife scars had 2 black men behind him. Killing intent spewed out when the knife-scarred man looked at Emo, but he didn't attack. Knowing someone would deal with Emo, he didn't need to do anything. Obviously, word has spread of Emo killing Black Panther. Emo held Tang Beiwei's hand and followed the long-faced man into the hall. Tang Beiwei was a little worried. The people here looked ferocious, and each had weapons as though it was a secret organization of the government. Before Emo went in, he scanned. There were more than 10 in the hall. Clap, clap. When Emo walked in, a monotone clap sounded. Not bad, you got balls. Not only do you dare to kill my men, but you also have the guts to come here. But no matter how much balls you have, you will die after you offend me, Nye Wubian. Nye Wubian? Emo suddenly remembered that seductive Nye Shuangshwag here and her words. I'm still a virgin. Qian He, what do you want bringing me here? I know you have a lot of power, but I He Chi won't be afraid of you. Emo heard a familiar voice. Emo turned around and saw the girl who wanted to use him was also brought here. She seemed to have some power judging from her tone. But didn't this guy just call himself Nye Wubian? How did he become Qian He? Qian He you. He Chi walked in and saw the Qian He who she said had a lot of power stood respectfully below. Sitting at the very top wasn't Qian He. Emo studied Nye Wubian. He had long hair, white face, and no facial hair. His eyes were demonic and looked in his 30s. He had black-level elementary stage peak power. Other than that Otan Hu, he had never seen someone who had black-level power in the city. Qian He? Haha, he's just one of my dog. You or He Chi, you look quite good. It's your fortune being able to come here. Tang Beiwei, you're even better. Last time, someone said you're the prettiest flower in Tan. I didn't believe him, but now it seems to true. You are indeed the prettiest woman I have seen, and you're still a virgin. Not bad, not bad. You're even prettier than my Sure Mei MHM. Qian He, you've done great. It's very useful leaving such a pretty woman for me at the end of the month, Nye Wubian said. He Chi then realized that Emo and Tang Beiwei was also here and said in shock, How are you guys here too? Emo didn't reply and studied the place. Within the range of his spirit sense, there were 36 people altogether. Other than the strongest Nye Wubian, that Qian He was already yellow-level middle stage. Although it was a short time, Emo was sure this was no place where the rich played with women. This Nye Wubian seemed eerie, and Emo didn't know why he needed so many women. He Chi stopped after one sentence. She seemed to realize her situation. Since Qian He was only a slapdog, then it meant this eerie-eyed youth was perhaps much more powerful. Nye Wubian coldly looked at Emo. I really admire your courage. You think you can do whatever you want just because you learnt some martial arts? I'll show you what is real martial arts today. Bring the 2 here. Emo didn't talk. He really wanted to go on a carnage now. But Tang Beiwei was here. The scene would be too bloody. He was worried his sister wouldn't be able to take it. If he used fireball, this He Chi was still here. He didn't want to kill her, so he must not reveal his powers in front of her. Just when he was hesitating, he saw the 2 men who went to capture him being brought up. Their face was pale, and their legs were shaking. Obviously, they didn't expect to be punished after coming back. Nye Wubian walked to the long-faced man and smiled. You've done well. You talk about how strong someone else is and don't even dare to attack him. Why do I need dogs like you? Waste of food. Grandpa Nye. Forgive us. The two knelt on the ground with their teeth shaking. I said, I don't need useless men. Then, Nyawubian raised his palm and struck twice. Blood shot high in the air, splashing on Nyawubian, making him seem more hideous. However, he actually licked the blood on his hand and relished the taste. At this moment, their heads rolled out far. Arg! Chi, who originally thought this wasn't much of a deal, could no longer take this gruesome scene and dropped unconscious on the ground. Tang Beiwei's face was pale and her heart raced. Emo quickly pressed her meridian to faint her and put her next to Chi. Not bad, you have some balls. No wonder you dare to kill my men. Nya Wubian looked coldly at Emo and the derision on his mouth was getting more potent. Emo had noticed this Nya Wubian was only black level elementary stage, but his chi was almost equivalent to black level middle stage. It really wasn't simple to decapitate two heads with just pure inner chi. I'm thinking, do you want to fight me now? Or have you lost your courage? Nya Wubian seemed like an eagle looking at a chicken. Emo looked at Nya Wubian and sighed. He also smiled and said, I really agree to your words. If you think you can do what you want just by learning a few moves, then I'm sorry. I wanted to say the same thing to you. I'll show you what real martial arts is. Then Emo raised his hand and swiped his palm left and right. There were 18 people in the hall, and Emo stopped after swiping 16 times. Haha! Arrogant fool. You want to copy me and use inner chi? Nya Wubian's voice suddenly stopped here. His face was full of shock as he looked at his 16 men. Blood spewed out, it was like a slaughter ground. 16 heads and 32 arms fell on the ground. Then all of them fell to the ground together as though they were trained to do so. The direction they fell to was the same. Nya Wubian was stunned. I'm dreaming. This must be a dream. He kept explaining to himself, but he knew this wasn't a dream. It was real. He was more shocked and didn't dare to say a thing. Finally, there was terror in Nya Wubian's eyes. Cultivating till now, he had never known terror, but today he knew what terror was. When he killed his two men, he used a gruesome way to kill them, trying to scare this young man. He did scare one, but that was Chi, and this young man seemed to be fine. But then the young man used more gruesome means than him. Even he had never seen such a bloody scene. He was sure this youth's action was intentional, slapping him hard in the face. Emo walked over Nya Wubian. Nya Wubian moved aside subconsciously and kept retreating. Emo ignored him and sat down in the chair where Nya Wubian was sitting before, and then he coldly looked at Nya Wubian. You? Who are you? At Nya Wubian's terror, he realized this young man was far stronger than him, perhaps even in Earth level. He didn't know which chromosome he was missing. Why did he mess with someone like that? Emo sneered. I've seen people like you. It's not just you. Not long ago, there was someone called Lone Wolf. Apparently, he's strong, but I killed him in 3 swords. And another sect called Broken Fist Hall. Their leader Zheng Qingfa brought his sect members to kill me, but I killed them all. But you seem to have a few days less training than them. Why are you so cocky? Qian Bei, please have mercy. Nya Wubian could no longer hold the terror in his heart and knelt down. Who was this guy in front of him? Why was all the people he killed at Earth level? His petty power was nothing compared to Emo Qian. His face was paler after realizing his master had encountered a tough one. Do you know why I still haven't killed you now? Emo coldly looked at Nya Wubian and said. Nya Wubian's entire body was shaking now. He finally knew what it felt like to look at death in the face. Before, it was always other people begging for mercy in front of him. But now, he was begging in front of someone else. Emo scanned Qian. You dare to hit on my sister, you're quite bold. But do you know why I haven't killed you? Qian was shaking and couldn't even say a single word. Although he was very fierce, he couldn't help but to shake facing such a gruesome scene. Emo ignored him and looked at Nya Wubian. A year ago, I blew this place to rubble and killed everyone here. I didn't expect to come back here a year later. It seems I'm quite connected to this place. Nya Wubian was full of regret. Why couldn't he choose another random city? Qian Bei, have mercy on me. Nya Wubian didn't want to die. His talent was the best in the sect, how could he die? But now, he really didn't know who could save him. Perhaps even his master couldn't. Emo threw out fireballs casually and the bodies were all burned, and even those two who were killed by Wubian were turned to flying dust. Wubian was completely shocked. He was still thinking if he could escape if the Qianbei didn't let him go. But now he knew he couldn't. This person could even shoot out fireballs. In the years he was cultivating the hidden sects, he had never heard of anyone who can shoot out fireballs to attack. He saw Yemo's eyes grow colder and couldn't stop his head from sweating. He said, "Qianbei, I'm from 4-State 9 Moons Temple. I came to Tan due to refining energy due to reaching black level, so I needed a lot of virgins but I haven't killed them. I just took there. Humph, there is actually such an evil sect. Your sect no longer needs to exist. You didn't kill them. Then what happened to my sister's friend Cici?" Yemo's eyes were freezing cold. He wasn't some hero of justice, but even he couldn't allow such a malignant sect to exist. Yes. Wubian was sweating. Yemo walked beside him and kicked on his chest. Wubian felt some sort of fire surge into his dantian, which stayed in there. Although he knew it wasn't something good, he didn't dare to resist. "Go kill the remaining 18 people and bring the bodies here," Yemo said with a plain face. He wouldn't let anyone here go.